revenge.
And it's a Graviton surge now for Decay to let go. And once more, Dallas fuel fall by the hand of a former comrade. And Dallas looks shell-shocked.
Upsets.
Goodbye, Paris Eternal. Down the well you go.
3-0 back-to-back for the Seoul Dynasty in the playoffs. With the Guangzhou charge, however, it's down to losers and a step closer to glory.
This kind of performance is what you need to see in the playoffs.
Having fun yet?
And now this has turned into an utter massacre.
This is such a good day of Overwatch.
Yeah, it really is.
The heavyweights are showing why they're in a class of their own. The shock just continue to roll forward.
This is peak Shanghai Dragons. This is the team to fear.
The Fusion just locking it down.
And our Cinderella teams have busted brackets and continue to roll.
The Rain are gonna do it, and they are moving on as they knock Paris down to the losers brackets.
The Eternal are done. And the Washington Justice continue the miracle run of the 2020 playoffs.
But the deeper in the playoffs you go, the pressure builds. And if you're not careful, it's lights out.
And now you could feel the pressure, the uncertainty seeping in.
This is the final chance to prove you belong.
Oh my God, what a performance.
It won't be easy.
It's all gone horribly wrong.
It will test you to your core.
Can they create history before our very eyes?
You can't let anyone off the hook. The final chance to punch your ticket to the Grand Finals weekend starts now.
This is Watchpoint, presented by State Farm.
Hello, welcome to the Watchpoint pre-show presented by State Farm. And in my notes from producer Albert, it's written, "Welcome to the Overwatch, you squares," or something along those lines. Okay, he didn't write you, but the implication was there. Apparently, we're all squares on the desk. I'm blaming Jonathan.
True. Here we go again. Zoe, you need to understand that when you go on a segment with Frankie, you never know what's gonna come your way, okay? The first words out of Frankie's mouth, and this is when I knew that she was perfect for the Overwatch League broadcast. Well, we were watching the trailer and going into the pre-show, and it's like all these powerful characters, this stylistic thing, and Frankie says, "I want to be anime," and that's when I knew. That's when I knew that she was perfect to join the broadcasting
like,
for
she
the playoffs
completely
here.
rips you guys apart, but she does it with the most charming smile and British accent. That can't be mad at that. Can't be mad.
Yeah, but I'm Swedish. How can you know, go against me? Like, you can't knock me down.
What you just said, you're Swedish.
Yeah. The problem is, being a Swede,
it.
you're also nice, and your sense of humour is very. I actually don't know what the sense
Unique.
of Swedish humour is.
Unique.
But I know
They're
the
dry.
Danish sense
Polite,
of humour, and I feel like Swedes are constantly bullied by their neighbours because I think I have quite a Danish sense of humour.
I mean, the UK is not our neighbours, and still here you are. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got a bit of Swede in us because you guys did invade a while back. Now, we should talk about Overwatch. We should talk about the Asia-Pacific regions a while back. I'm talking about, like a millennia ago. I'm not talking about last night, Jonathan. Right, overnight.
We're gonna have a go.
We saw our third
we will.
team clinch a spot in the Grand Finals bracket as Dynasty defeated the New York Excelsior in the APAC losers bracket. And, well, we should probably recap that, shouldn't we? So, Zoe, you watched this match. Tell us what went down.
I mean, the question is what didn't went down really for the NYXL. It felt like a compositional mismatch. Honestly, they didn't really have an answer to what Seoul Dynasty was throwing their way, even though they knew exactly what is coming their way. I just didn't feel like they actually got much value out of their Zombra. They didn't really get any value out of Mono as he later on switched over to the Winston. And I mean, playing a Winston into Hog, Zombra, Sigma, and an Ana, he basically was just hacked, hooked, slept, and rocked at all times, usually right after he hits his primal rage. So that was almost painful to watch, to the point where I manically started laughing because I was uncomfortable. So it was really rough for the NYXL. It was sad to see that they didn't manage to really adjust to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. The NYXL really struggled of finding a way to deal with this Seoul Dynasty. It seemed like they came in and just thought what they were originally doing was going to work, and it just didn't. And I think we need to start asking the question for all these teams and going into the Final Four, did they get the meta wrong? Is this Roadhog Xayah, or just Roadhog plus another off-tank, actually significantly better than everything else is being played right now? So far, the two teams that have had the most ridiculous and successful runs in the playoffs have been people that are leaning towards that. Are we going to see more teams heading towards there, or is there actually a counter? And that needs to be solved before we get into our very, very finals with our top 4, because otherwise we might see some upsets.
Well, we do know 3 of the 4 teams that will be playing in the grand finals in October. So we have the Shock, the Dragons, and Seoul Dynasty. But I know that you guys are a tough crowd to please. So, Zoe, who has impressed you the most in the 2020 playoffs so far?
I mean, honestly, for me, I think this has to be the Seoul Dynasty. Because of a variety of reasons, one being just the general franchise history. Like, there's always been so much hype surrounding that team ever since the inaugural season, but they never delivered. They always kind of fell short, and now this is it. They are in the top 4. They finally managed, they have a grasp on this meta. They managed to have that Roadhog composition and finding so much success with their Pix feed meta, with the Hawk and the Sigma, like both just so much peel for their double snipers, and it's really frustrating for every other team to go up against because they can't just dive in, they don't get their picks, they don't really get the value out of the Zombie and anything else they're playing into it, and they're forcing top teams such as the Shanghai Dragons to play the same composition. They're forcing top teams to go off of what they're actually strategized or planned coming into the series, and I think that counts for a lot, and that gives me a lot of hope for that team to, you know, maybe even get as far as catching that trophy at the very end.
Yeah, I think we may not give Seoul Dynasty enough credit here, actually, because what they've managed to do in the APAC region, it requires a lot of bravery in terms of being able to flex to different compositions and try different stuff, like putting Gesture on the Roadhog. Like, you don't do that on a win. You know, that actually takes some courage from the entire team to buy into that idea. Like, hey, Gesture, he's our main tank, but we're going to put him in the Roadhog in the playoffs when it matters most. Toby on the Mercy, generally, you know, known for his Lucio and his aggressive boobs and having such big impact. Instead, Seoul Dynasty puts Toby on the Mercy, creative Ana replacing Bedoshin, and then you have Prophet flexing on the Ash with Fitz. Like, there is a lot that went into this game plan by the Seoul Dynasty, and I think you have to give them credit for actually experimenting, trying new stuff, and figuring out a game plan that no other team in the APAC region really were willing to do. They all defaulted back to the Winston dives and tried to make the summer work, but the Seoul Dynasty actually experimented a lot and tried different things, and actually, you know, they qualified because they were doing so. So you have to give a lot of credit there for the fact that they were willing to try these new compositions and perhaps have a different take on the meta. And it worked out brilliantly. So credit to Seoul Dynasty for that.
Yeah, for me, it has to be the Shock. And the reason I'm always impressed by the San Francisco Shock every time we watch them play is it seems like you can actually see them improving and learning as you see them play. And they obviously struggled coming into these playoffs. You know, they almost lost to the Washington Justice off, you know, at the very start, which, looking back now, wasn't as bad as we thought it was. And then they, you know, sort of struggled a little bit with the Atlanta Reign. But now they came out and they had a dominant win against the Philadelphia Fusion. And I think that's sort of highlighting, you know, how much this team knows how to adapt. And that you have to give credit to the coaching staff of this team. They seem to have a much more of an identity. They're playing to their strengths. They, you know, have the flexibility when it is required as well. So I'm excited to see what this team is going to do as we go deeper in the playoffs as well, because, you know, they've locked in #1 seed. Everyone sort of is vying for them to get a back-to-back win, something that's unprecedented in the Overwatch League. So I'm excited to see what the next step for them is going to be.
Well, we're down to just 2 teams in NA now that the APAC playoffs have wrapped up. We have got the Justice and the Fusion battling it out for the final spot in the grand finals. So let's talk about our number 12 seed, the Washington Justice, first, because they didn't have a great regular season. And then in May, they invited a couple of new players in, and of course in August, they get Decay. And now suddenly, in the final furlong of the playoffs, they're peaking where it matters most. So how exactly did the Justice get to this point, Reinforce?
I mean, it's been an incredible regular season, and not because it's been good, but because it's actually been so bad, and now they find themselves in this situation. Like, we actually need to talk about it for a little bit. This was a team that went 4-17 in the regular season. 4-17. They're the 12th seed going into the playoffs. For a better part of this season, we talked about most of these individuals as washed up. Like, they didn't have it. Obviously, then they managed to pick up Stitch and Janu as well for those roles, but the storyline for the better part of the year was that, is Stitch even good enough for the Overwatch League? can he even really make it? Like, he was benched on the Vancouver Titans for the longest time, didn't get any playing time whatsoever. And so have just been criticizing the Washington Justice. I mean, certain figures in the community even branded them as entertainment thieves, because every time they were playing a matchup, like they would just rob off of great matchups. And since then, they've done an immaculate turnaround, picking up Decay just over a month ago, the 12th of August. That's 1 month and 1 day ago. They picked up Decay, given the rule changes going into the playoffs. And since then, they've gone 5-1 in the playoffs. They have more wins in the playoffs than the entirety regular season. That's absurd. To me, this is one of the crazier storylines in esports. And I mean, I'm not like a veteran like some people, but I've still witnessed a thing or two in like 10 years, right? This is one of the craziest stories I have ever seen from an esports team. From 4-17 in the regular season to 5-1 in the playoffs. And I'll tell you, most people actually think the Washington Justice are the favorites. After this meta shift that put Decay on the Zarya, Janu on the Roadhog, all of these players on their comfort heroes, they've gone 5-1 in the playoffs, are now perhaps favored going up against the Philadelphia Fusion to qualify for the Final Four. This is an incredible story, and we cannot underestimate how big of a season this has been for the Washington Justice.
I mean, see, I am a veteran, 13 years and counting, and I agree. It's bonkers. It shouldn't happen, but it is happening, and partially due to a lot of really, really standout individual performances on top of obviously a very cohesive team performance as well. And one of the players I really want to highlight is Janu. Before, we talked a lot about Decay and Stitch popping off on Zarya and Ashe respectively, but I want to take a look at that hog from Janu, because quite frankly, if you're looking at the stats here, he is really up there, top 3 in all trackable metrics, and then of course also the fewest death, tied for 4th. But the really important one I want to talk about is the self-healing percentage. This is the percentage of damage that they heal off with their E. So whatever they get, he's healing 29% of that. That combined with his fewest death being 4th place, that just means that any team going up against that team and focusing Janu, they have to heavily invest to take him down. And that obviously means that there is plenty of room for Stitch as well as DK to go a different kind of ham on the opposition. They need to be stopped as well. And because Roadhog is just such a self-sustainable hero, that also opens up a lot of freedom for your backline, for your supports, because they can focus elsewhere. And that just overall makes this whole thing not just a triple threat, but I don't know what the 6-man version of that is, but that one. And yes, all of that. And quite frank, I mean, Roadhog now is just kind of the equivalent of like a self-cleaning cat toilet. Wait, the analogy makes sense. No, because you have a cat, but also you don't have work with all the mess, right? So, unlike Reinhardt, you don't need to babysit him. Like, he's fine by himself, and Janu is playing it on such a high level.
Yeah, I completely agree with, like, it's kind of like the Trinity Triangle for me when you look at this Washington Justice of threats that they have in the team. They have Decay at the top, which, as Frankie said yesterday, you can just ignore him. Don't do that, Philadelphia Fusion, if you watch the pre-show. Okay. Then there's also Stitch on this hit scan, who's getting damage boosted by a Mercy pretty much 100% of the time and is very sustainable because of that pocket as well. And then you have Janu on this Roadhog who's just walking around. I'm not even putting the Sombra player of Tuba or Tracer as well in this triangle because of how just pesky and annoying he is to make those 3 even more enabled. And that is the issue with this composition that no one's been able to solve. The thing that Justice does so well is as soon as you try and shut down one, they will then pull back a little bit and someone else will step forward. There is no one single answer to solving this problem, and that is why it is so dynamic and so hard to deal with. And I'm really excited to see what the Philadelphia Fusion will come out with, because as I said, as a former pro player, this kind of problems excite me, because I'm like, there has to be an answer to the problem. There usually is. But this could also be one of those situations that is very like GOATS, where there wasn't an answer. It was just the best composition that would win most of the time. So I'm excited to see if someone will find the solution, or if we're going to see everyone start tending towards more of this Roadhog Zarya style.
Oh, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because ARC has spoken about in an interview how the reason they're playing this composition is because it plays to their individual strengths. And then you see how separately this team is able to play from each other. You've got Janu always off on his own, solo holding down points, or solo defending them, as we saw on Hanamura yesterday against the Mayhem. So I wonder if you have to isolate these individuals, punish them for going off on their own, and stop them from getting back to their team So maybe you don't leave Decay alone, you do the opposite. Custer calling out my terrible efforts at analysis yesterday, which is why we're going to talk about something else right now, but it's still related to the Justice fans, because for you fans out there is an opportunity for you to get some behind-the-scenes photos from today's matches, thanks to Pringles Wavy and Cheez-It Grooves. All you need to do is tweet at Overwatch League with hashtag CrunchTimeCam WAS to receive a photo of Decay, Janu, Arc, and the rest of the Washington squad in action. So if you want to see Arc getting emotional as they take a map, or you want to see Decay looking exactly the same as he always does, this is your opportunity, so I hope you take it. Now, when we come back, we're going to be breaking down Washington's opponent and trying to find out how they can find their way to those playoffs in October, our grand final. That's coming up after the break as we discuss the Philadelphia Fusion.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the Watchpoint pre-show presented by State Farm. I'm Frankie Ward. We have got Zoe with her 13 years of experience, Jonathan with his 10 years of experience, and Custer. What's your?
I'm like 6.
How many
maybe
years?
5.
6.
So rookie numbers right there.
That's fine. I'm like 5. I'm 5 years technically, and also I didn't really sort of start working in it for a bit of time after that, so don't worry. For once, I'm like the baby of the bunch, and I'm quite happy. Just ignore the lines. There's a reason I've got a fringe, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the number 1 seed, the Philadelphia Fusion, are looking to bounce back today after losing to the San Francisco Shock, and they want to punch their airline tickets to Korea. So let's take a look at their starting 6, you can see right now. Zoe, who is the difference maker in this lineup?
I mean, so far in the playoffs, it has been Hisu. Has been used at 100% of the time for all the games Philadelphia Fusion played, and he was one of those key players, obviously playing a key hero such as Sombra. However, if we're looking at the rest of the season, that was not the case. Like that is a new kind of development for that team. It usually was Karpa who kind of carried everything, and if we're looking at Hisu's numbers on that Sombra in the playoffs, I mean, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's way up there, ranking 1 to 3rd in every trackable metric, and that's awesome. Happy, great times. But I just don't see them getting that much value out of the Sombra when they're going up against a composition such as the Washington Justice is running. I just do not see that happening, and I think they will try, but I feel, or fear rather, that they will have to pivot fairly quickly as well. And I can see a world where we will be seeing a lot more Carpe today, as he has found a lot of success on his Ashe.
Can't wait.
Yeah, there are certainly a lot of different strategies you can actually use here in this matchup. I think that Jesus Sombra, it might come in handy, but I don't think you can rely on the Sombra Reaper specifically as much anymore, so I agree with you there, Zoe. I think that Sombra Reaper, you could just go all in and like try to make it work and just try to rush your opponents down, but Carpe in my mind is going to be the backup star player for this team. You can see the stats yourselves. Carpe has Ashe in the playoffs, first in scope critical hit kills per 10 minutes, 7.5. We know the amount of impact Carpe can have on some of these great games because he's a veteran of the sport and he's had some of these big moments where he just turned team fights around. And I think the Philadelphia Fusion might have to ask for Carpe's assistance in this matchup as well. I don't think that Philadelphia Fusion necessarily can rely on the Sombra Reaper composition. I think you might have to take a step back and try to play the long range game. So pocketing Carpe's Ashe with perhaps a Mercy to allow him to deal more damage from afar, and dealing with Washington Justice, who won't be using a shield tank, this might be the key to success for the Fusion in my mind moving forward. Jesus Sombra might help him out by, you know, enabling some hacks here and there to shut some tanks down, but for the most part, I think Carpe's Ashe is going to be required for the Fusion if they want to win this matchup.
I'm actually really curious to see how this is going to work out, because we've seen so many teams pivot away from Sombra Reaper every time they go up against this Washington Justice or this Roadhog style of being played, but I don't think we've ever actually seen it attempted. And seeing Hisu and Ivy in the lineup makes me think that that's what they're going to go for. They're not going to play that hit scan, they're going to want to play this Sombra Reaper style. And I'm really interested to see how it's going to work, because the Mayhem, as a prime example, pretty much pivoted away from it instantly. They wanted to go towards this Genji. We saw the same thing from the NYXL yesterday. They've moved away from the Sombra and tried to play the Genji. I'm interested to see if Sombra just doesn't work or if it just hasn't been utilized in the right way. So there's a lot of questions to be answered or not. I just really hope this isn't another one of those teams that come in with a strategy and then it just doesn't work at the end of the day. Also, quick tidbit, Chipster with the 0.6% chance, maybe he's the solution to the problem. Has anyone really
face against Roadhog?
He would have ult charge 100% of the time. As long as he doesn't get unlucky ever, he'll be fine.
He still has a 100% win rate as well,
true.
right?
100% win rate on Chipster.
So, I mean, can't argue.
The shade of it all. Right, it is time for Emote Control presented by State Farm. And you guys on the desk will be delighted to know that this one is all about the Washington Justice. Yay. So let's take a look at our first clip. This is Aim God with, like, God, he had 1 health or maybe 6 HP. Pops his ult and he saves himself and Janu, because you gotta have friends.
This for me is the classic Zenyatta, when you go to 1 health and you trance and then you're like, oh no, I use Transcendence to save myself, and then someone's really low and you're like, oh, I can help you, and then it works out perfectly. So give him the money, he's paying out. Aim God's having a phenomenal playoffs.
So what's happening here?
Well, I made my only notes. And this is my, I'm in disbelief that this worked out. What?
I can't.
I can't believe they made that happen. Oh, Bren. Oh,
it's
that's
Bren's
from yesterday
confusion.
as well.
Bren was going through
It's not they made it happen. I cut them out myself today. I spared no efforts for this.
It's a teamwork.
Yeah.
It's team effort.
Reinforce, talk me through.
I love it, Zoe.
Is that Moth there?
I mean, this is just Moth freaking out. I mean, because that is what Aim God did just then, right? So I'm freaking out. But, you know, let's not talk about Moth. No, let's not talk about Moth. I mean, Frankie, you've also selected a picture. Yeah. So I love the creativeness we're seeing from both you and Zoe.
Yeah, this is, that is like, that's the face one makes when they're in those situations when you think that it's all going wrong, and then you suddenly manage to save yourself and your mate. You don't think you can do it, and then you surprise yourself. That's basically what that face is. I actually think that's quite a mysterious music video look from Brad. That's like sexy Brad.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that.
No, honestly, that video of him was a treasure trove of emotes. Yeah, obviously. He has to rock. the
Okay,
right
right,
outfit with
let's move on to our next one before I fall into Bren's eyes and get lost forever. This is a little bit of a moment for the support. Oh well, I can't say support
guys.
line. Actually, it's Mercy and Stitch betrays him, doesn't come back.
Let me
For his
How
friend.
relatable is this?
let me go on a rant right now, okay? If you are a DPS player, us Mercies, we are going out of our way to help you and protect you, okay? We do all of these things. If a Genji pulls a blade and we have to run away, we expect help. We want more from you because we cannot just jump off the edge and then you just willy-nilly walk around, okay? Mercy lives are important. Everything is important. Help your supports because poor Ark dies for nothing. This is Moth's face because he's dealt with this as well.
He should have played better.
No,
Don't. That's a Bren again.
Oh man, it's cut off though. Wait.
He's cut off.
This ain't
You might have to
acceptable.
drag him down, Zoe. But
Yeah,
the
wait.
alignment's
Here it
gonna.
comes.
I love how his neck is as wide as your shoulders.
Where is it?
You got Bren too, Frankie. Well, you got all Bren. Why is there
Bren.
only Bren pictures?
Now,
There is.
I feel jealous of Zoe's placement now. I wanna like. Here we go.
There we go.
Hang on.
I can't
There we
do
go.
it.
I haven't cropped mine quite so cleverly, sadly. That needs to be a global emote, doesn't it? It just needs to be a global emote. Please, can we get this?
We need all
We need to get this sorted.
This is too good.
I'm still
Why,
obsessed with that
Lord?
neck. I'm obsessed
Good
with that neck.
Lord.
Right. Should we go for the next one? All right. So this is everyone's favorite Roadhog. It is Janu. He's got a load of hooks and he knows what to do with them. So let's check this moment out from Hanamura.
Oh, now that is
That's
filthy.
just mean.
The range on that hook, that should not be possible.
Hook
no.
1.0 right here. That's what that was. But oh my, that was a big time hook right there. That was big. I got my boy super up because oh my, that's a dirty one on the Ash as well. That's just not fair.
I can't believe it.
This is the finisher
So
coming in right now. Janu putting the nail in the coffin for the Florida Mayhem. Big props.
I got Mitch for this one because I can just hear his caster calls as he sees this like, no, that is wrong, that is ungodly. So you know I gotta go with Mitch for this one because that was truly ungodly and it was wrong.
An outrage. An absolute outrage. Ah! I can't believe this is happening.
Oh my lord.
I just thought that. I mean,
What?
I thought
No.
sassy, 10
What?
years of experience, deal with it. Reinforce, representing Janu.
Wow. We've really stepped up our game in emote control. Emote control is just never going to be the same again.
I'll tell you what, Frankie, that image is copyrighted and I will be coming after you with my lawyers. You won't hear the end of it. There's going to be a long off season, I'll tell you that much for free.
Oh, well, you can. I did find this
Ask
on
her
your
if she cares.
Instagram, Reinforce. If everyone wants to go and find some more classic photos for their own memes, follow Johnny on Instagram. Am I forgiven? Was
so dead inside in that
acceptable?
picture.
Oh my god. I do kind of want to start playing a tiny violin.
This is what Bren looks like when he plays Overwatch with
Yeah.
Sideshow. This entire emote control could just be Bren playing with Sideshow. I love it. It's been
Oh my
great.
God.
Thank you so much for the creativity.
What a-
This has been awesome.
What an
Of course, of
incredible
course.
tribute.
Thank you,
to
Brent, for providing
Bren.
your face.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bren.
Yeah, I kind of want to know Bren's emote control, like his reaction to his face being used in such a way. I hope he appreciated it because that was emote control presented by State Farm. It's our last one of the playoffs, but right now it's also time for our last predictions of the playoffs.
Oh,
and I just
God.
thought I'd get in
What
on
are
the
you doing?
action. So,
Oh,
all
Lord.
right,
Here we
I know,
Reinforce.
I know it
Come
already.
on, Reinforce. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm the only one, am I not?
Okay. Don't yell at me.
Don't say
Washington.
Justin. Oh, God. Sure.
Oh wow.
They look so good. They've looked so good so far. And I mean, no one has been able to counter them. Shock were only able to do it because they had Striker on Tracer, the best striker in the world.
The best
Fusion don't have the best
striker in the
striker, the best Tracer in the world. I'm so scared. I'm really am. Please hold me.
You
Please
know
hold
what
me. I'm
you've
so
done.
scared.
Jonathan,
Oh, no.
goodbye. Okay, Zoe next.
No, I cannot. I can't. I can't pick Justice, no matter how good they look.
Guys, you got 30 seconds.
Fusion got it. Fusion.
All right, well,
end of the story.
All
right.
I want to
Johnny,
say it.
we're back together. I went for the Fusion as well. They look too good. No, wait. I went for Justice. Sorry. I went for the Justice. The Justice looked too good. Fusion is going to struggle to find a solution to the problem. I don't see them getting it.
I just feel like that there's a lot of shade going on, and like Zoe said she'd fight for me in the opening show yesterday, I would fight for you, Zoe, so I'm also saying Fusion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
no.
welcome.
This is all the doing for a bad
Hey,
show.
Frankie,
I'm
almost
welcome.
certain that you will regret this.
No,
We
absolutely
will
It's
both
not.
regret
okay.
this.
But
I
never
couldn't, on the
regret.
good conscience, vote for the Justice here. I'm sorry.
It's all
Love
right.
the Justice, but
I
no.
kind of have been saying Justice most of this event, but now I'm saying Fusion because I think that they should be ready for anything that's thrown at them. Okay, fine, they weren't ready for Shock yesterday,
What a
but that's
pre-show.
a different
What a
level
pre-show.
of teams. So thank you so much for watching
The
the
Apple of
Watchpoint
Esports.
pre-show presented by State Farm because, oh yeah, that's a good point. Justice versus Fusion, our grand finals, is coming up next.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, or renter's insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
revenge.
And it's a Graviton surge now for Decay to let go. And once more, Dallas Fuel fall by the hand of a former comrade. And Dallas looks shell-shocked.
Upsets.
Goodbye, Paris Eternal. Down the well you go.
3-0 back-to-back for the Seoul Dynasty in the playoffs. With the Guangzhou Charge, however, it's down to losers and a step closer to glory.
This kind of performance is what you need to see in the playoffs.
Having fun yet?
And now this has turned into an utter massacre.
This is such a good day of Overwatch.
Yeah, it really is.
The heavyweights are showing why they're in a class of their own.
The shock just continue to roll forward.
This is peak Shanghai Dragons. This is a team to fear.
The Fusion just locking it down.
And our Cinderella teams have busted brackets and continue to roll.
The Rain are gonna do it, and they are moving on as they knock Paris down to the losers brackets.
The Eternal are done, and the Washington Justice continue the miracle run of the 2020 playoffs.
But the deeper in the playoffs you go, the pressure builds. And if you're not careful, it's lights out.
And now you can feel the pressure, the uncertainty seeping in.
This is the final chance to prove you belong.
Oh my God, what a performance.
It won't be easy.
It's all gone horribly wrong.
It will test you to your core.
Can they create history before our very eyes?
You can't let anyone off the hook. The final chance to punch your ticket to the Grand Finals weekend starts now.
Hey guys, welcome back, and it is finally time, Hex. We got one more team to send off to the Final Four. We're going to jump into the Warzone Gulag. We've got Washington Justice against the Philly Fusion coming up soon.
Very different paths that these two have taken. Philadelphia has been the #1 seed in North America the entire Overwatch League season, for the most part anyway. Only a couple of losses on their record. Washington has had a tumultuous season, made a lot of changes, but we got the lower bracket. Of course, the winner's bracket. These tickets have already been punched. San Francisco Shock was able to defeat the Philadelphia Fusion yesterday. They are headed to the Final Four to face off against the Seoul Dynasty and Shanghai Justice. Who will get there as well? One slot remains, Jack.
The 12th seed is now facing off against the first seed. The Justice only losing one map, you can see here in the losers bracket, against the Valiant on Friday. They 3-0'd Mayhem yesterday as well, in a series that everybody thought was going to be pretty close. Or, you know, maybe 5 mapper. Maybe we'll see Mayhem take it 3-2. But no, the Justice just steamrolled over them. Stitch has looked the best he has ever looked on hit scan. We've got, of course, Decay in the lineup as well on the Zarya, just destroying everybody, getting all the resources in the world to succeed. Nano boost, damage boost, just literally everything to make sure he can almost carry his team on his back. But then Tuba's been looking great as well. In fact, the whole squad has been on their best heroes and is seeing a whole bunch of success.
And the meta just favors what they want to run. They're not going to fool anybody with switching up compositions, really. They maybe switch Tuba on occasion, but that's only if he wants to play the Tracer. But, I mean, Janu's Hog has looked like a god-tier Hog. So here is your Washington starting 6. It is the Immortal Arc and the Fearsome 5. Every single one of these guys on this team can go for kills and get damage done. They're the highest damage dealing tanks with your Hog and your Zarya. You know, Tuba and Stitch, you don't need to say anything about them. Tuba has gone off these playoffs. Stitch, already great. And even Aim God, he's always known as being kind of this aggressive flex supports. There's times you'll watch his camera and he's not even healing. He's just like, Hog's got himself, Zarya's got bubble. Why don't I just take 3 shots at this Pharah? Oh, Pharah's dead. Cool. Every one of these guys can get the job done, can get eliminations, and then Arc just never dies. Just never dies. That's his job, never dies, and make sure he can resurrect people.
And pure pacifist run as well, still doing the least amount of damage, but healing a whole bunch of his team, keeping them alive. Let's have a look at Philadelphia Fusion, however. Oh man, Philly, Hex, what do we say when we cast them? Well, they're always the bridesmaid, never the bride, and they always seem to be a second place team. They might not even make it to the Final Four if the Justice end up taking them down. I'd be pretty worried if I were the Philadelphia Fusion currently. However, you'd expect a lot of teams have kind of sniffed the Justice out. You know exactly what they're going to run. We'll see if the Philadelphia Fusion can come up with any strats that other teams haven't come up with yet. Of course, we've seen Ivy on the Reaper, and Hisu Sombra as well has just been extraordinary. A couple of down points every now and then, but nonetheless, Sombra is one of the best in the league.
Yesterday had to be an absolute heartbreaker for Philadelphia because they've had some decent results against San Francisco during the regular season, but San Francisco is one of the most frightening teams to play against no matter the meta because of the depth they have. Philadelphia is trying to flex that depth a little. I mean, they're able to bring Carpe off the bench. He will not be starting today, though. Ivy and Hisu will get the damage call, Sato and Fury the tank call, and for me, the biggest improvement for Philadelphia all year has been this support line. Funny Astro, your boy, is leading all Lucios in every single category throughout the playoffs.
Is Lucio, he's not just a Reddit Lucio, guys. He is one of the best Lucios we have in the league and in the world. Yeah, and he heals too. Doesn't quite go for the boots all the time, although he does like to look fancy every now and then, of course. And then an Alarm to back him up with as well. The crazy support duo that everybody saw kind of coming in. There was no way Alarm wasn't going to get into the league. Of course, he played on Fusion University. Astro was on the Atlanta Reign previously, of course, and before that even, he was on a British Hurricane, a very dominant team in EU contenders. And having them both together on their best roles again, like, it feels pretty good if you're the Fusion. There's been a bit of, again, like, small damp spots where Astro hasn't looked great on other heroes and it's been Alarm filling for him, but this meta almost suits them perfectly. And running against the Justice, like I said before, Hex, you know what they're going to run. Yeah. They're going to run Hog, they're going to run Zaya, and they're going to have Stitch on a hit scan and then Tuba on the Sombra 2. This is crazy to think that the Washington Justice have made it this far. No one has predicted it. In the brackets, the perfect ones, Hex, they were boomed pretty early. But there is no one that had predicted the Justice has the potential right now to knock out the Philadelphia Fusion.
Well, we're going to start off on Lijiang Tower, and Philadelphia ran into this Justice composition a little bit against San Francisco yesterday. On Gibraltar 1 and 2, San Francisco chose to run this composition, and Philadelphia dominated it. They dominated it by hacking the Hog and discording the Hog. Those are big asks to do. We might not see those heroes going forward after we play Control, because right now they're going to kick it off with what looks like a pretty brawl-y comp with the Reaper and the Lucio to Speed Burst.
Speed Burst. Yep.
That's
what you want to do. Speed boost and then burst people down. That's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah,
perfect words.
It was actually a perfect comp call. Okay.
Nice little hook in there, but Janu has to kind of back off. Yeah, there's the hack. And I feel like all you need to do is Hisu here, really, is just wait for this hook to come in and the projected barriers as well come out from Decay and then just hold out the palm, ready to go for this hack as soon as he goes for an aggressive push. That's exactly what he did do. Janu ends up going down first. It was a very aggressive jump in as well for Ansado, trying to get Aim God out of the picture. The point does get capped. Fusion are in control.
That's exactly what you do. Hog goes down again. If you can isolate the Roadhog, you're going to be in a good position against this composition that Washington runs. He's the closest thing to a main tank that they run, with sustain, with eating up damage and the damage resistance. And twice now, that is Janu going down first.
Astro heard me. He was like, wait, what do you mean I'm not a Reddit Lucio? Goes for the double boop, and look how much ult charge he has as well. That was two extremely high health heroes that he pushed off. He is at 80% towards the beat. Arc and Aim God are nowhere near their ultimates right now. Tuba's going to have to put up the CMP fast. Even the Fusion, to be fair with you, Hex, now they know they have this much ult charge, they're going to be more than good to go. Early nade coming out from Aim God to try and heal up the rest of his team, but Alarm was able to isolate him with the Coalescence. He ends up taking out Janu as well. A Bob is used to go near to the point, but not quite, you know, going to get the cap, although it does. Actually, I take that back. 5% now building up for the Bob, but it shouldn't matter. I mean, the Justice are cleared on out of the White Room, and this will be the recap for the Fusion.
Well, what that boop does, though, is it also puts the fear of God into Janu. He doesn't really want to go across bridge anymore, so he's going to have to go through White Room. We'll see if he tries to go this time now that there's going to be bubbles and things to maybe get them over the bridge. They do just that. Entrance does come in. EMP is ready to go for Washington.
Oh, that's a big EMP, but Aim God already gets killed off. Fury and Astro are going to get hacked. However, Hisu now with a later EMP could unleash it. Sato's down, but the rest of the team are going to be okay. They just really have to look out for Arc here at his wings. But Astro again! Find another double boop. Janu and Stitch over the edge. If he didn't have ult, he's going to have it now. That is for certain. And the Fusion didn't even use the sound barrier in that fight either, Hex. So they're going to be okay for this next engagement. 77% in building, and Fusion now one fight before they can take the stage.
This is 4 environmental kills just on this round for Funny Astro. He's doing 35% of his team's damage. He's
gold
Lucio.
Damage. He actually has gold damage now. There's actually no way he doesn't. 90% in building. The Fusion have ults to bear. The Justice not looking so healthy in that manner. Janu's going to get jumped on, and an aggressive beat. I mean, you might as well. The EP comes out as well. Decay is already dead. Janu is getting to get hacked, but he does get Nano to see if he can find anything with this. The Primal Rage is going to take care of AimGod, and it's Janu against the world currently on the point. Arc at least gets the resurrection onto AimGod, but that doesn't stop Funny Astro from doing the dirty. Stitch gets booped off the edge as Janu ends up going down as well. Overtime is here, and the Philadelphia Fusion are going to push the Justice off the point. Astro going for some more boops, doesn't quite land it, and he's punished for it as well. Decay with the solo grab on the Lucio. They can't quite get to the point in time, however. And the Philadelphia Fusion, they're going to take Night Gardens.
5 environmental kills on a single round of control. Funny Astro was getting ult every minute in 25 seconds as a Lucio. I mean, you don't really see Lucio carries too often, but Funny Astro has shown you why he is #1 in every single category for Lucios in this playoffs. What a start for Philadelphia. It's important for Philadelphia to come out hot. Times get that mental boom that happens to them, so they need to come out swinging like this. And the young kids for Philadelphia, the support line, Funny Astro and Alarm, they've been so good. Funny Astro, a hard carry on round 1.
Kind of always has been a hard carry. Was in Ghost meta as well with his Lucio, and it's just not too much of a surprise to him doing rather well. And another perfect map that aids to his booping ability. Yeah, we're going on to Night Market now, so Washington Justice, they're going to have to be careful once again. Stitch, however, is going to have a nice little sight line, but the Philadelphia Fusion, yeah, they know that, so they're not even going to take the fight in the, I don't know, the open area in the middle next to these statues.
Waiting for unlock and then rotate to point, probably.
The objective is now active.
Justice is still getting a nice little bit of progress, Hex. Sado's going to go fairly low, but they wait for the speed boost from the Lucio and a hack onto Janu and take him out. And not for healing, unfortunately. Of course, Arc is trying to pocket Stitch as much as possible, so it really only leaves AimGod, and then he's got a nade, and he's going to have to use that in order to buff Janu back up. Speaking of buffing him back up, there's a nice little resurrection from Arc as the Justice end up pushing the Fusion away as they do end up capping the point. So AimGod gets hacked, didn't matter too much, but the Philadelphia Fusion, they're in the point that they want to be. They have Ivy on the point, Hisu as well. Close range DPS is what they're after, but Decay is very high charge, and Sado is going pretty low. Nice little leap in and a bubble to isolate the healers in the front line as well, as AimGod ends up going down. Ivy does get hacked, but it doesn't matter. He's got the front line to hide behind, and the Fusion, they're going to win this engagement.
They're all picking their best targets. In the brief time that Philadelphia played Washington on this comp yesterday, when Choi Hyobin was on the Roadhog, it was Hisu, who ended up contributing to 4 of the kills on Choi Hyobin. It was hacks, it was finding him low, it was everything, and he seems to be really isolating Janu in this composition. Philadelphia knows how to play against this. They're executing perfectly.
There's the whole hog on the point, blowing everybody away. Oh, Ivy, maybe didn't want to reveal yourself there, sir. Unfortunately, was shooting at Janu, trying to take him out, but he gets taken out by himself. Bob's going to get sent it onto the point, and Alarm's already used that fade. That's not a good look for the Fusion right now. Sado also gets naded. This should just be it. And with Ivy going down, Hex, that's a whole lot of your damage too, mind you. I mean, Hisu's going to be able to do a fair bit with his SMG, but he's a lot less hardy than Ivy is. Ivy having 250 HP, plus has the leech on his weapons as well, so he's able to survive a lot more damage incoming. Justice end up capping the point, but 65% or 64, not bad for the Fusion.
Well, Fusion's going to be able to come back this with a full 6 ultimate kit, their ability, as long as Hisu does not get EMP'd first, because Tuba's got his. It's just a game of chicken right now.
Oh, what a sleep. He does get the hack off, but they might be able to just end his life right now. They do indeed. A damage boost is hedge from Stitch, takes him out, but Decay was kind of left alone in the front line. All the healers and everybody else were looking towards the sleeping Hisu. Ivy uses the Death Blossom too. Luckily enough, though, the Fusion actually just jumped towards the point, so Decay ends up getting resurrected. Both support ults have been used, but a perfect hope from Janu to cancel the Coalescence and a Graviton Surge right on top of the point. Ivy had nowhere to run, Fury neither. And the Justice, even though Fusion end up capping here, should be able to win this fight out now with Astro, the only one really alive. Alarm's going to be there too, just trying to get a bit of extra ult charge and delay for a little bit longer, but he's not going to last long. And that'll be the reflip for the Justice. But the Fusion did grant themselves their Hex, just under 20% of point presence, so 80% now on the board. That's one fight territory for them if they've managed to cap again.
Well, and for that one fight, they are going to have EMP. EMP can be difficult against the Washington Justice comp because they play pretty much squatted up, whereas it's going to be 2, 2, and 2, and then, you know, just hope that you can grab 2. A 2-person EMP is fine. It will win you fights.
Yeah, you've got to get Arc, though, I got to imagine, an aim god too, so he can't actually apply the nano boost to anybody. Hisu trying to find the perfect ang to actually EMP someone here. Janu goes in front of the hook again. There's the bomb, and Sado is in a whole lot of hurt. He gets knocked up into the air, and he was anti-naded as well. He didn't stand a chance. They at least trade Janu for Sado, but now Decay, he's on the field. He's got the nano, and he's got a whole lot of charge as well. They're going to push them all the way back, and Janu actually gets res too. Ark's resurrections have been absolutely ridiculous. It's like Fusion aren't really caring about where they end up killing people, and they're just letting them get off for free. And now it's 90% for the Justice too. Aimgod gets jumped up by the Mega Pack, and Hisu now with the EMP is going to have to go for a quick engagement. 5% more, the Justice will take this stage, but Hisu is at least going to be here to actually end up touching the point. A hack onto Janu, so he can't go for the heal, and still the EMP in his pocket. Janu ends up going down, the Coalescence from Alarm pushing everybody back, and Philadelphia Fusion managed to find the flip.
Oh, these staggers are absolutely brutal. There's only 15 seconds left for Washington to get back on the point. They've got the tools to recontest this. They are going to have an EMP. They will also have the grab to follow up. You see Janu's going to go over to the ball. Tuba is just waiting to touch. He might have to reveal himself last second, but it's actually going to be Ball who rolls on first.
Just look how menacing he is right now, just sitting on that statue invisible. Oh, Justice, they don't know. Hisu, all he needs to do is EMP the front line, just take out Decay, and that should just be it. The EMP comes out, it manages to hit 3, but a counter EMP coming in onto the Philadelphia Fusion. A funny Astro ends up going down with the beat, and Hisu falls as well. Ivy's gonna fall, and Decay, oh, he's got all the healing in the world, and he's got the Graviton Surge as well. Astro needed to survive. He needed to get that beat off, otherwise it was history. Sado ends up jumping in, gets grabbed, gets killed, and the Justice are going to tie up control one apiece.
Washington play this very aggressive style, but it's unfair because they essentially are playing with 7.5 people on the field because the resurrections almost always come through, so the first kill doesn't matter at all. And the Justice initiate with Bob constantly. He's always pressing carts. He's always pressing the point. Like, Bob has been their initiating factor so many times because it takes up space. You have to just leave for the most part, or at the very least spend resources and try to kill Bob, and Washington loves initiating off of that, so that's why Washington's able to turn back a lot of fights. They simply have more men on the field.
5, 4.
And they have an extra man as well, ideally. I mean, Ark's getting these resurrections off like nobody's business. It's kind of insane how many he's able to get off and just generate that extra, almost extra person, right? Because Fusion are like, well, it's 5v6, and then Ark gets a res off, so well, now 6v6, you've wasted cooldown,
Yeah.
so...
Or even demoralizing.
Dude, look at this. It's really aggressive, but oh, by Tuba, he didn't expect the Fusion to be there so quickly. They're next to the Mega Health Pack. Already, Astro's like, okay, we're just gonna go, we're gonna speed through control room, and then we're gonna go straight to the Mega Health Pack and just catch Tuba unawares, and now they've switched sides. I mean, look at this. Suddenly just get naded, and yeah, Aimgod spit off. The Fusion, they're doing such a good job of just rotating, and the hack targets as well have just been so good. Perfect. Janu has not had a chance really to do anything. That space you can create with the Hog getting the hooks and then getting away almost scot-free right with the heal has been so great, but Hisu knows that game plan. It's just hacking him every single time.
Well, and the target loss for Washington is actually the worst one to lose, Tuba, because we had just talked about how resurrections are so important. When you lose your Sombra, it's almost always in an unresable spot. You actually are down a person when that happens. So Philadelphia going to take first control, 22 and counting up. The first ults for them will be Coalescence and Death Blossom, which often are used together to try to keep the Reaper alive.
Sado's going really low again. Someone heal Fury. Fury actually gets demeched by Janu. They end up using the Coalescence. The EMP is going to be pretty good from the Justice. Ivy, Funny Astro, and Alarm are going to get hacked. Alarm hacked at a Cole as well. Supplemental healing not there for Sado, but Ivy's in the front. Decay does get nanoed and is now pushing his way onto the point. It's all on Decay, and it feels like it always has been. A triple kill for the Xayah, and now he just needs to beam down the support. The Graviton Surge on the central column, but he can't really follow it up, and, well, there's no one in there anyway. But it still forces the Philadelphia Fusion away, and the cap for the Justice comes in.
Jake made a great point yesterday. It's the dumbest game of Clue ever. It's always Decay on the point with full charge. He's always killing everybody when that happens.
That is true.
And now Philadelphia is in a decent spot, though, to take this one back at 57 because the EMP is up, and Washington had to use everything they had. Washington, very likely, though, next fight will just throw in the Bob because that's how they like it.
Okay, EMP came out last fight, so they could address...
Just hacked.
Very quickly with the beats. I mean, it's perfect, right? The perfect storm for the Fusion right now. AimGod Janu end up going down. No nano for Decay, and not a lot of pocket remaining either. Arc did end up popping the wings of the Valkyrie. But it's going to mean little to nothing right now, because Decay dead, AimGod dead as well. Everybody ends up just resetting off the side. Oh, Asher actually gets the credit for Stitch there, so a bit of extra ult charge for him. And the Fusion end up recapping. Their ultimate economy game, Hex, is so good. Look at how many ults they have coming into this next fight.
Also, their target priority has been absolutely how you beat this Washington Justice squad. It's been Janu getting hacked early on, and when it's not, it's AimGod getting dove on. It's really the best dive target you can have, because AimGod, if he misses those darts, not often, he's still going to go down. They dive again. Look at this, AimGod and Janu dive first. Target priority has been perfect.
Yeah, the hack onto AimGod permanently as well to make sure he can't get the nades off from the sleep darts. And now the late kills onto Arc and Stitch as well. Someone has to touch from the Justice, and it looks like it's going to be the Wrecking Ball. Tuba is going to be here to Hex, and the ball can stay alive for quite a long period of time here. However, now being hacked, not quite so lucky. OT ticking down as the Philadelphia Fusion are in control. Justice come onto the point. They have to be able to touch, but they get EMP'd. The perfect ultimate economy game from the Fusion has won them Lijiang Tower, and they head into 1-0 in the series.
Absolutely enormous. 25 enemies hacked for Hisu. Only 7 enemies EMP'd, but the hacks have been on everybody that has to get done. The way you beat this composition, in my theory, look, I'm not better than the pros, and a lot of pros haven't figured it out. You have to isolate Hog and get hacks. Not super easy, and you also have to find a single good dive target. The best dive target on this team is AimGod, and you saw it time and time again in the kill feed. AimGod down first, Janu down first. One of those two always went down first, and the composition loses so much of their healing and so much of their tankiness. Philadelphia seems to at least have the theory on how they want to take it down. They executed it perfectly on this first map, and Philadelphia, oh, they want to go to this Final Four so badly.
It's really cool to see the prioritization from Hisu, who he wants to actually hack. When they go for the dive, if they hack AimGod, they hack the Ana. Can't use sleep, can't use nade. Winston is basically free to do what he chooses. 1-0 up in the series right now. And by the way, if you haven't forgotten, All-Stars is coming up rather soon, and we got some very special skins coming out as well. With that, we're going to jump to a quick break. We'll see you in a bit.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Whoa, wait, these are sick. This is really good.
Oh my god, that is actually so sick.
Oh my.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Oh my. No, that's actually the craziest skin I've ever seen.
Oh, that's what I'm.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by HyperX. Unleash your style. Unleash your fury. With HyperX Fury Memory.
It's Puckett in the Spawn Room here with your reminder to get your exclusive inside look into the 2020 Overwatch League playoffs like never before. It's all available thanks to our friends at Cheez-Its Grooves and Pringles Wavy. Simply tweet at Overwatch League using one of these Crunch Time Cam hashtags to get instant, real-time photos of the two teams in action tweeted right back at you. And remember, keep tweeting throughout the match to get even more behind-the-scenes pics. We've got more fun and games from the Spawn Room coming up. It's the Overwatch League 2020 playoffs.
Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey guys, welcome back, and yeah, I need those skins pretty badly. I didn't even play tank that much. I'm not sure I've done tank placements. Oh no, I did do tank placements last season, actually, because my stream made me do it, but I don't play tank that much, but I'm still going to buy those skins, that's for sure. We're going to jump into map number 2 in just a second. We have the Philadelphia Fusion, #1 seed, taking on the 12th seed, the Washington Justice, for our final placing in the Final Four later on, and we do have one substitution coming in as well. We have Carpe coming in for King's Row, Hex, and it was Washington Justice's map pick too, and I wonder why they picked this map.
Well, they're pretty good at it. You know, they've set some records on it pretty recently. And I just kind of want to touch on the skins very briefly before we go to our next bit. If you have not been hoarding tokens like a dragon on a pile of gold, we might have a way for you to get more tokens later, so stay tuned for that. I love me some teaser, but these are the fastest times, Jack.
Yeah, and the graphics not wrong. Justice did set a good record against the Shock. 4 minutes and 41 seconds left in the timeback. You see, if it would have been 2 seconds quicker, they would have actually been #1, which was Shock versus Defiant earlier on in the season. It's your 2020 records presented by Xfinity for King's Row. And what a ridiculous time. I just said to you during the break as well, and we were obviously talking about the game we did cast, because we ended up casting that series.
Yeah.
I remember thinking during the series, like, how are they going to beat the Shock on this map? How is it possible to beat Shock's time bank? And then they just go ahead and set the #2 fastest time. It's just absurd. I mean, King's Row is really interesting in the way that you can get quite a big role. And it's safe to say a lot of escort maps, or hybrid maps, sorry, are like that. Point #2 can be a bit treacherous if you don't get decent spawns as a defender, but the Justice setting a 4 minute and 41 time bank against the Shock is absurd, not to be underestimated.
The second fastest this year, the 3rd fastest time ever. So it's not just this year, but yeah, it was only a couple weeks back. So obviously Justice favors running on this map, and their composition also leads to a snowball potential because of what great alt cycling you can actually get done with it. Philadelphia bringing in Carpe is very likely just to match the long-range hit scan. I mean, that's been for every team that has played King's Row. You're going to need your Ashe to be able to check Stitch. Stitch is just going to be sitting up on defense. So a lot of times, very early on, these teams take it slow, and it's just these early Ashe duels where you have top of stairs on the offense and window for the defense, and we'll see which team ends up getting the better of that. There are some strategies where you can kind of just ignore the Ashe in the window, take different angles, isolate different targets, but so far Philadelphia's target isolation has been perfect. That's what won them map 1. First to 3 here, looking to punch their ticket to the Final Four the Overwatch League 2020 season.
Just hang on. What? Do my eyes deceive me? Oh, and Decay is dead. Ark's going to resurrect him, I can imagine, yeah. But what a rotation. This is double sniper on King's Row with the Sigma to take the high ground. I really like the Sigma here, Hex, because you can push so aggressively up on this first point, like the high ground here with the shield, and then you can use the accretion to push people down as well. Their idea here is to basically just push the Justice DPS onto the point. They're going to just wrap around here onto Stitch.
Yeah, Sigma Hog is something that we have seen Seoul Dynasty run very, very well, and right now, I mean, Arc is on a different map. It's a mile away. Look how far back they've had to push.
They're all by the bookshop. Not a good place to be if you're the DPS,
Nice,
but Tuba! That's 2 1-clips onto Carpe and Alarm. Well, that's how you kind of take down this comp. Just rely on Tuba or your Tracer to take care of the front line and back line. Oh, dearie me. Sado not in a nice position either. He was on the health pack, but ended up going down, and Tuba finds his third kill on the defense there. The Philadelphia Fusion, because of this long wraparound as well. So look how far they are back as well. Actually, they're in the opposite situation of where they want to be. Ivy and Funny Astro are on second right now.
This is the strangest I've ever seen Kings Row played. I mean, there's just duels between Mercy and a Sniper on both sides right now. I guess there's 4 for each team hanging around the point, but it is kind of what we said about Washington. You take out Decay and Stitch gets pushed all the way back, and then Tuba just comes alive. Like, there's so many threats on this Washington Justice team.
I mean, the problem is as well, Hex, this is going to take you a long time to actually do anything. Good pick onto Janu, and Sado finishes off Stitch as well. Tuba did manage to find the pulse bomb kill onto Carpe, but they need point pressure right now. That's the aim of the game. Decay ends up killing Funny Astro because, you know, Decay things in your backline with a lot of charge. Janu ends up getting resurrected as everybody was trying to look towards Decay, but it won't work. Whole Hog been used as well. 2 ticks have been acquired by the Philadelphia Fusion. However, they can go for a reset here, which is, I think, what they're going to do. However, they have to actually get out of that room. However, Ivy says not today, and he's just taking the fight to the Justice. Aim God alone on the point. Funny Astro finds the kill, and that will be point 1 cap. That was quite confusing and like loads of little small battles happening everywhere, but the Philadelphia Fusion came out on top.
Scholars will study this map through the replay viewer for the next decade or so, because then you can capture all that on camera. Ivy pops up to at the end with the Sonic Arrow kill. Fun fact, when you kill someone with Sonic Arrow, you can see their soul. Philadelphia is going to have sights up now too, so it's going to be hard for Stitch to get in a good position. And I think the moment Carpe is waiting for is just to see anyone in Washington. He'll hit that button and they'll probably have to retreat. But Washington is on a sneaky hog flank.
Sights are, yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, there we go. So what about that flank? They're going to back all the way, and Ivy's taking an aggressive angle here as well. I love this double sniper. I really do. Aim God gets swiftly taken care of, and with the sights in the hands though as well, even more powerful because you just launch a few projectiles around this corner and no one can really cross. Decay has grab. They do have the Transcendence as well for that flux, but this payload is ever so slowly moving towards the second point. They're going to have to touch it at some time. Pulse bomb goes out, launches onto Carpe again, but Alarm ends up killing off the Bob, relieving a lot of that pressure, and the resurrection came onto Stitch, to Carpe even, but Stitch is the back line. Sado ends up getting taken out, and a lot of rolls being popped left, right, and center. Both Transcendences come out, and Carpe ends up clicking the head of Janu, with a lot of assist to bear as well. Stitch and Arc are able to escape, and they still have the Valkyrie at their backs as well. The Philadelphia Fusion are going to have to go for a reset, unless Alarm manages to kill off a couple more people here. Tuba's in the back line again, just looking for the support. Alarm is dead, and not long for this world is Funny Astro unless he can get out alive.
They're able to take down Alarm, and now Washington's defense is finally stable. It took me a second to figure out who was on offense, on defense, because the positioning on this map has just been absolutely bonkers. But this is also what San Francisco was able to do against Washington in the same comp, is to run a Widowmaker, because you're going to be able to hit headshots on techs. They've got pretty big hitboxes, and just chunking down Decay and Janu's very low again.
Super low. Oh, no, he gets taken out. Those damage boosted arrows do so much.
There's so much burst.
Did pop the Valkyrie, but it doesn't matter. Stitch is actually just dead. A hook into a kill, easy as that, and a whole hog as well. As soon as they get grabbed, that's point 2, it's done. It's all over. You're gonna have to back off now. Aim God, unfortunately, just dies to Sado. That Graviton Surge at the end there by Decay. Probably wish he saved that for this point here, because now they're running into this Flux from Fury. Ooh, what a headshot out of Spawn as well. However, luckily enough, Arc is just in Spawn 2, died around the same time, so ends up getting the res.
Well, but you still have to get the resurrection out. You got to put it on cooldown when you're playing against this. There is going to be a dragon just about coming up. And the Sigma play!
Pulse bomb in the front. Janu ends up going down though, and he was using the whole hog. That was almost a perfect position for him to be in to kill Fury. The Bob came out into the payload, but it gets instantly killed because the Discord orb on the Bob, and the sniper's shooting at it. Bob's not going to last 2 seconds against this comp. The Philadelphia Fusion with 2 minutes and 30 seconds in the time bank now are pushing forward with still a Flux and a Transcendence to hold on to.
It's looking pretty good for Philadelphia here, and they have a lockout ultimate with this Graviton Flux.
There's the Flux. Decay's in trouble. He has to get something. He's going to die momentarily. There's the hook in. Yeah, he had nowhere to run, and that will just be it. There was no real fight there at all from the Justice. And I feel like, Hex, a lot of that time back was actually just burnt down on first.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the second weird, prolonged fight where Ivy kind of popped, and then they popped sights, and then they end up killing a couple of people. Like, that third point just didn't exist. It was a really horrible situation, and like I said, Decay definitely wanted to save onto that grab, but wasn't able to make it work. No nano boost available either. I mean, Hex, at the end of the day, what do you really need in your life? You need nano on Decay, but you also need some Pringles Wavy and Cheez-It Grooves, who are giving you some behind-the-scenes photos for today's match. Just tweet at Overwatch League with the hashtag CrunchTimeCamWAS for Washington, or hashtag CrunchTimeCamPHI for Philly to receive a photo of your team in real time.
Dynamite segue, Jack. That broadcast school's really paying off. Look, I really like this Sigma pick, and because a lot of people are like, well, you can't play shield tanks against what Washington is running. It just gets burned down. Yeah, you're right, but not if the shield's only out for a second at a time, and that's what Sigma's able to do. Like, Janu thought he had Ivy dead to rights there. He's going around the corner, he's like, I'm going to hook this Hanzo. What am I going to do next? He's already 3 plays ahead, like he's playing chess. And then the shield comes up just for a second, and then it comes out, and then they're able to collapse on Janu again. I'm loving what Philadelphia is doing. All credit to the coaching, all credit to the scouting, and the players are just executing. They're executing everything perfectly, hitting shots. Ivy went nuts on the Hanzo. Philadelphia, did they crack the code? Have they solved the puzzle that is the Washington Justice composition?
Looking at this defense, Hex, they might have just done that. I mean, ideally, Justice wants to do the same thing Philly were doing, right? Where they push the Philadelphia Fusion down from the high ground, but because they have both Fury on the Sigma and Ivy on the May, it's going to be incredibly hard through both the wall and the accretion and the shields to do anything on this high ground. Stitch is looking for a flank, but again, the angle doesn't really serve him too well here.
Well, Washington wants to walk at you with their tanks. They've done it to team time and time again in these small choke points, and you can't walk through a wall. I mean, not yet. Maybe the next hero will have that ability. Oh, please no, Jeff. But they've got it set up that they're just denying what Washington wants to do. Like we said, Washington's not going to fool anybody. So if you have enough tape on them and you see every map strategy, you should be able to figure it out. That's a huge kill, too.
Yeah, you can't resurrect yourself, unfortunately. Carpe pays one in kind, but yeah. Like you just said, X, what do they want to do? Well, Decay and Janu want to walk towards you, and that's exactly what Janu did. Carpe and Sado are dead. Ark is still alive too, so he fans the resurrection onto Stitch, and now they have 2 ticks on the point. I mean, this comp from the Fusion was perfect to hold the high ground, but actually having point presence, especially when Asher is dead, is nigh on impossible. 5 minutes now as the payload will come out of the little garage or whatever that is, and it will get on its way.
Yeah, well, they got 3 good spawns, but it's not enough to be able to hold Archway, because with May holding Archway, obviously it's been a strategy on King's Row since the beginning of May, really, being able to lock off this doorway. But without Fury, they're just going to give up a ton of ground here. Washington gets a free push. Probably first fight will be on corner here.
I've got to be scared if that was the Fusion right now. Tuba is on the Tracer. He's had some rather successful pulse bomb sticks, and he's basically just farming up towards the pulse bomb now. He's got it. I don't think they want to go for the big bang either. And, oh, Ivy with a right click to the head ends up killing Tuba. So now, yeah, you can see how much the Justice actually rely on Tuba doing things and finding that initial pick. They end up backing off as soon as he goes down. Janu ends up getting hooked and then walled, so he can't receive bubbles, and that will be a reset for Justice now.
Yeah, I mean, the Sigma's also one less good hook target. You saw that Fury got hooked in there early, but Grasp comes up, and he's able to get a ton of shields up. They're unable to burn him down, and so it's another good reason to run a Sigma against this composition. Hello. Now they're in that position I was talking about. They can hold this corner with wall.
Yeah, and they Blizzard as well. Like I said, the bomb isn't going to last long, but starting with them going down, Transcendence as the Blizzard comes through, as well as that the Flux. Carpe ends up killing Stitch, and now already freezing up. There's a lot of high HP targets you have to take down through that Transcendence from Aim God, but they were able to focus down Janu and get the Resurrection onto Sado while the chaos was happening underneath that arch. It's basically just another go again button, right? I mean, we're going to have to build up our ults once more. We have the Bob for Carpe, and you have this whole hog, but Decay has got this grab. Tube's going to have to find an entrance and maybe an entry pick here on the Tracer, but it's going to be a hard-fought battle against this May again.
Oh, with no Diva on the side of Philadelphia, this grab should just find free purchase. It gets 3.
Nice grab. Tube's in the back line as well, and then Stitch dropping from the rafters like Assassin's Creed. Decay and Janu clean up the rest. A perfect pincer maneuver there from both DPS. Tuba was in the side streets. Stitch went up on the high ground, then dropped down with a Mercy boost. And yep, that shield unfortunately can only cover one angle. So Fury was trying to make sure Janu wasn't doing any damage, and the DPS helped them clean the rest up. And the Fusion, maybe they get a touch here on second, but it's looking quite unlikely.
Well, not only that, but Sato was using Whole Hog to try to deny that grab. It's a pretty good grab counter to deny Decay being his own follow-up by knocking him away. But as you mentioned, you cannot just cover from all angles there. Bob's going to get thrown in to touch the card. He's very low already.
Goodbye. Oh, but Sato finds the flank kill onto Aim God, and now they can just enter onto the payload? Like, how does Sato keep getting away with this? Janu, luckily enough, ends up killing him off. And now there's a bomb coming out from Stitch to put himself on the payload. Fury, unfortunately, with that as main tank in almost a permanent pocket, is going to go down pretty quickly. And the problem with the Fusion comp as well, this brawling style that they're like almost forced to get into because the payload is near the second point, they're not very good at sustaining themselves. Yes, they've got the Hog Hex, and they've got a lot of overshield too from the Eat from the Sigma, but your healing output is not as great with the Mercy and the Zen. You're looking at rather low HPS output. Same could be said for the Justice, but they're way more equipped to go for this brawl style. Oh, that was a nasty headshot.
Carpe goes down, and Alarm will have the best healing that he's ever going to have, and Transcendence being available. Stitch is now going to try to match this Widow. He's been playing almost primarily Ashe throughout this playoff run. Widow duel with Carpe.
Just going to have to hit some big shots, that is for sure.
They're getting pushed.
They are. I think Fury's just waiting for his flux. Okay, Stitch ends up going down to Carpe, and Tuba is in the back line, but with the orb on you, it's very hard to take him down. Carpe hits another shot, killing off Janu. They end up resurrecting Stitch, but they haven't really got a front line right now. It is just Decay, although sometimes that's really all that you do need. Stitch ends up falling to Ivy. Tuba is in the rafters now once more, but the sights are going to come out, and Astro taking the 1v1. Tuba's going to be safe up there with Astro receiving the Discord orb, doesn't want to test him. And they still have another couple of fights in them.
Yeah, Philadelphia just seems to breed aggressive Mercy players when Astro goes after that kill there. Washington on the comeback here will have a Graviton Surge, both of their support ults. You might want to save Grav to see if you can pull off a Pulse Bomb, which might kill a Squishy, even if they end up using Transcendence.
Yeah, ideally you want to force the Transcendence, right? Oh, that's a... Look at how many assists are in that kill to kill off Janu. Yeah, that's the only way to kill a Hog. Well, there's the Decay grab into the back line, and the Pulse Bomb as well. Tuba finds two. Astro and Ivy bite the dust. They res Aim God as well, and now is last limbs for the Fusion. In a blink of an eye, the Justice have destroyed the Fusion on their defense. And now they've got a couple of ults to spare as well. There's one person on the payload, and that is Astro diving around. The Transcendence has been popped as Ivy comes in with the Doom Fist. The whole Hog should seal the deal, though, as Sato's the only one left. Not even a meter was remaining there before they put the payload in. And they have 1 minute and 14 seconds in the time bank as well. A little bit less, of course, than the Fusion. And now they get to go on the defense the offense yet again. And it's just, I'm amazed. Every single time I see Decay like on the flank alone, I'm like, is he going to grab? I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Tuba is already waiting there, just building on towards the pulse, but we see that, boop,
that's why you save it.
Right on top of Astro's head. Bang. Yep. Unfortunately, Ivy couldn't actually climb away there, although you were grabbed anyway, so your death was a mere certainty.
If that pulse doesn't come through, everyone lives through that. I mean, you have damage from Stitch from the distance, but everyone probably lives through that grab, but the pulse bomb had to be there, knowing the composition. Like, really all you really have to get there is the Mercy, the Hanzo is the cherry on top. They'll take it. 114 on the offense for Washington Justice, and yeah, we'll see if they can get it done. These first point offenses have been strange.
Strange to say the least.
Yeah.
It takes them a long time, though, the Fusion, if they want to do the same thing again, on their offense, that is. It does take them a long time to rotate. However, being on the defense, they're doing same old, same old. I want to see how they're going to combat this last time. As Justice were like, you know what? We won't actually take the fight on the high ground. We're just going to set up Stitch with the Mercy boost and hopefully duel out Carpe, and then we're going to force you to come to the point and have Tuba basically do whatever he wants to do.
Sato doing some scouting, using the sit for a little third-person view.
Same thing again, actually, yeah. So Stitch is going to come through the hotel, and and then have a nice little sight line. And then Janu's basically just going to sit on point. Ivy and Fury have to go to them. Like, you can't let them get free point time here.
Yeah, well, Justice know they can't go up top. They've scouted that this May is up there. There's going to be no way to rotate through hallway with your tanks.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, what a shot. Two Brents are down.
Unresable.
And that is a bad news, unfortunately, if you're a Justice fan. With 30 seconds remaining, this is looking rather difficult. He's actually switched over to the hand zone now to just try and get that one pick off. Plus, there's another targeted damage boost as well if you're Arc. Beautiful kill onto Carpe. Ain't got opens up yet again. However, with the resurrection from running Astro, which he's more than safe to do because he's in that corridor, Carpe is back up and fighting strength once more. Stitch and the rest of the gang, they're having a little bit of a trouble actually stepping onto this point, Hex. They've managed to find a tick, so, you know, they have at least got a little bit of percent. A nice little hook. Sado and Carpe are pretty low. Ivy 2. However, overtime being here, the Philadelphia Fusion just have to get this Carpe on a roll. That's exactly what he's doing. Tuba dead. Sado finds the hook in onto Janu. He finds the free kill, but Ivy was there with an icicle to finish him off, and now they just have to kite. Make sure Decay doesn't earn this grab, and you've got dead as well, and this should just be it. The resurrection onto Sado, and Janu will come through, but the Blizzard is there. And the Fusion, they're going to hold on to this first point. The Justice still with a win condition, however, 33% and a bit to defend. However, Fusion, they got a little bit more time in their bank, but they got that 2 minutes, but I'm going to hark back to what I said just a second ago, Hex. They took about that long to actually set up with what they wanted to do on their attack last time.
Yeah, absolutely. Carpe was in talks for being an MVP candidate earlier this year, and then he started coming out of the lineup. But I don't think there's any way you could live with yourself if you're a Philadelphia Fusion, or a Fusion fan for that matter, if Carpe didn't come in for the game that really matters. He has consistently been one of the most clutch players in the Overwatch League, going all the way back to Season 1. We have seen Carpe come up big in big moments. He did so time and time again so far on this map. And if you're Philadelphia, yeah, you just go Ivy Carpe with pick potential. You know that you're going to have to kill people probably more than once unless you get Arc early on, and the rest of the crew can kind of just roll in. And you also have a third pick potential in Alarm. Alarm and Aim God have been hitting these cross-the-map volleys and taking people out. Philadelphia in a great spot to pull this one off.
I'm worried, though. I'm really worried, because it did take them a long time to set back up again, and Tuba's on this Hanzo, so it's almost double sniper mirror here. Of course, Stitch is on the Ashe, but she's basically a sniper, especially with the damage output. And now Janu is actually on the Sigma as well, so almost a carbon copy, almost a mirror match here.
Yeah, he moves Decay over to Hog, so no Zarya on the field.
Something that they've just not changed. I want to see how many maps they've done this for, and it's not going to be many. And already, Janu is dead. They have no high ground control. IB kills 2. Aim God and Janu are dead. The resurrection is going to be very, very hard to get off. Arc, at least luckily, gets on Aim God. Fry sitting around the corner, but now Tuba's gone down. Ivy with a solo carry off the high ground. Decay is also going to fall over, and the Fusion are going to put themselves on the point. There's a couple of people that can get back in time, but they're going to have a hard-fought battle to get there. The Fusion take the Justice on King's Row and set themselves up with match points.
Oh baby, a triple. Ivy comes up enormous, and he got some flack earlier in the year in some of these May metas. Ivy's May was, it was okay, wasn't that great. He's played it really well, but comes up big when he absolutely, positively must have that. I talked about how Philly has to come out swinging here because they're a team that rides on momentum, but they can get in their own heads when they start losing. They have forced Washington to play their game, and that is one of the first times it has happened. I kind of thought this was going to be whoever blinks first. Is Philadelphia going to have to mirror Justice? Is Justice going to, force them to do it? But Philadelphia has made Washington adjust to them. They are up 2-0, Jaws.
I can't believe it. It is the Cinderella story for the Justice coming to an end. I mean, if you think back to it, how many maps did they go with the Shock? It was a complete 5. It could happen again. The Fusion, I really did think we were going to win against the Shock the other day, but they got, never count against the Shock, right? Never bet against them at the end of the day. Are they going to go to 5 maps? It is very winnable right here for the Justice. Can they bite back? Well, they're going to have to do something against Ivy, as his Hanzo is looking so clean. I'm slightly shocked that they deviated, Hex. for what seems like the first time ever that we've seen Decay on the Hog and not the Zarya, who's been solo carrying some of these games, with the help of Stitch, of course, on the Ashe. We're going to jump to a quick break. Do not go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss map number 3.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury, with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
We're in the spawn room. It's time for more games with Puckett. That's me. This time we're playing Name That Map. Are you ready? It's a well-lit doorway. The platform's a dead giveaway. And so is the giant robot. Of course, we're on Volskaya Industries. Doesn't get much easier than that, but still, congratulate yourself if you got that one right. We got more coming your way right now live. It's the Overwatch League 2020 playoffs.
Welcome to your game break presented by Pringles Wavy, and we're 2 maps into the finals of the NA playoffs. I say the finals, it's the lower bracket because of course the winner of the playoffs in a sense was San Francisco Shock. They've already booked their spot in the grand finals in October. But let's talk about what happened in Lijiang, because it looked like actually Fusion, they'd worked out the justice and they understood how to break up the sextuplet of doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that, Costa.
Sorry.
Costa. Why'd you gotta do that to her, Costa?
My brain was processing. I was like trying to do the math in my head, and it just wasn't working. First of all, as a Lucio player, Funny Astro's a god, and that needs to be stated right now. He completely won them that first round on Gardens, but it was really interesting to see the Fusion willing to run this Sombra Reaper up against this style that the Justice is playing. And you can see how they were trying to run it and the plan behind it. They are trying to isolate either Janu or Aim God every time, and they're just working their way around their map with their superior speed with the Lucio, and then isolate these targets, something that not a lot of people have been able to do it. Surprisingly, and maybe Frankie is a genius, they are somewhat ignoring Decay and then running down Janu. So it is actually working. But look at this. On Lijiang Tower, Janu dies 10.7 times per 10 minutes. That is unprecedented and unheard of for a Roadhog player in a match like this. And he's just really struggling to get anything done. And that is all because of the pressure from the Fusion.
This is a man who was the master of self-healing, and now he literally cannot take a breath. But let's take a snack, shall we say, because it's time for Crunch Time presented by Pringles Wavy. And Zoe, we've got to talk about pig's feet.
Yeah, that is how this composition is called. It does require you to have a Hog and a Sigma, and that makes the pig's feet with the double sniper, Ivy and Carpo, of course. That seemed to be the answer, honestly. This is the comp which initially has been played by Seoul Dynasty and to great success, and now we're seeing the Fusion adapting it, and this is the answer to what the Washington Justice are running, so much so that they were forcing the Washington Justice off their picks, and that is unprecedented. This is the first time we are actually seeing a team driving them that far, and you just have to give it to the Fusion to be able to like take a leave out of Seoul's book or wherever else they found that leave, and they managed to not just play it but look so coordinated and comfortable on it. Ivy really stepped it up on the Hanzo. He got so much done for his team, and then also on Mei, even though Costa and Reinforce both initially weren't the biggest fans of that Mei pick, it really worked for them on defense.
Yeah, I mean, the execution that you hit on, Zoe, it was brilliant from the Philadelphia Fusion. And I love seeing the double sniper composition come out. Obviously, as you mentioned, we have seen it in the past now in this playoffs. But whenever I see double sniper on King's Row, it's like when someone pulls out like an NFL play from like the 80s. It's like, oh yeah, that good old strategy. Because this double sniper, we've legitimately seen it now in 2016, 2017, but it's still relevant in 2020 just for this precise situation when you're playing against a composition that doesn't run a barrier tank. Of course, you're playing against Zarya, you're playing against Roadhog. There's no real barrier in place, and that is when Hanzo and Widowmaker really excel. So I completely agree with you, Zoe. I am a big fan of the Mei pick as well, coming out from Ivy, specifically on second point. You can block the chokes. The Mei wall sort of acts as a pseudo barrier. Keep that in mind because it has a lot of HP. It's hard to break down that Mei wall. And the amount of times we saw Ivy block Janu's Roadhog hooks with this Mei wall, it's so good, and it buys so much time for the rest of the Fusion to find picks, whether that's with the Roadhog hooks, whether that is Carpe playing the Ashe. Brilliant strategic adaptation coming out from the Fusion. This is the Philadelphia Fusion that we wanted to see in the playoffs, and they're really making it count against the Washington Justice here in our lower bracket finals.
Well, that was.
I also want to quickly give a shout out to. Sorry, I want to quickly shout out Sado's Roadhog as well. Yeah. Because quite frankly, he got the better end of the hook here. He was literally leading the charts in every metric. And Janu, who, as you said, Frankie, has been phenomenal on that Roadhog. He's just been shut down by the entirety of the opposition. So seeing Sado playing that hog on such a high level as well with so much success was pretty great to see.
Well, that was our Crunch Time presented by Pringles Wavy. And speaking of Crunch Time, Cheez-It Grooves and Pringles Wavy have teamed up to give you the opportunity to sneak behind the scenes if you tweet at Overwatch League and use hashtag CrunchTimeCam PHI if you're a Philadelphia Fusion fan, so obviously that would be me and Zoe, or if you're with the boys and you're supporting Washington Justice, hashtag CrunchTimeCam WAS, you'll receive a photo of your team during today's match. And it really is crunch time right now because there could just be one map between the Philadelphia Fusion and the finals in Asia next month. So Custer, what do the Philadelphia Fusion need to do? Or in fact, you know what? Scrap that. What do Justice need to do to hang on and stop humiliation for yourself and Jonathan?
I don't think the solution is to try and play double sniper against the Philadelphia Fusion. I don't think you should try and ever play their game. I think they need to go down playing what they've been successful with and keep trying to find a way to make it work. I think if they try and start moving Decay onto the Roadhog, Janu onto the Sigma, they're going to lose to themselves a little bit. So I want to see them go down with the ship. You know, a great captain goes down riding the playoff ship, and that's what I want to see from them right now.
They're going to die on that hill.
Yeah.
Love it.
You might as well, right? I mean, you got it so far, and now, you know, it's not looking too great. I mean, you're taking in water, the ship is slowly sinking, but you're like, you know what? Maybe like a whale will come and save us or something. You never know. So just ride out the wave, Washington Justice, and we'll see if something happens.
That's what you've been
I
doing
mean, I don't know what the mythology is behind it, but...
Jonathan, you've just been on this little hill bailing out water. Right, we're going to send it back to Jaws and Hex for the rest of the NA lower bracket finals to see who the last team is that's going to be heading to the grand finals weekend. But first, we're going to take a quick break, but... stay tuned because we are going to be revealing the T-Mobile 2020 MVP courtesy of Costa after the break, so you don't want to miss it.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
What's up, everybody? It's Puckett in the spawn room, and it's time to tell you about a new Instagram AR game you should be playing right now. It's called Race to the Future, and it features our very own Sideshow as he tries to avoid obstacles while riding a hoverboard. Check out the game on the Overwatch League Instagram page, and also celebrate the Overwatch League playoffs by heading to the Download Center on OverwatchLeague.com, where you can download your favorite team-themed wallpapers, backgrounds, banners, and icons. There's no better time to celebrate the league than right now. We got more of the Overwatch League 2020 playoffs coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League playoffs. It's Custer here, but it's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to announce the 2020 Overwatch League MVP presented by T-Mobile. Unfortunately, I didn't win. But this is what I've always wanted to win. This is what every player that's played in the league has wanted to win. It's such an important symbol for all the players that you are the best right now. But it was an incredibly close race this year with just under 500,000 people voting for our 10 incredible nominees. But in the end, only one person gets our $100,000 prize pool and this incredible MVP trophy by T-Mobile. So without further ado, it's time to announce who you all voted for our Overwatch League Most Valuable Player.
The voting is insanely close for the MVP race.
When you talk about MVP, you're talking about a legacy.
He's always playing for the team.
He's clutch, and clutch is everything in life.
He is the quintessential damage-dealing player.
3 words for this year's T-Mobile MVP.
Fleta is meta.
Anytime the meta shifted, Fleta was able to pick up whatever damage dealer was going to have the greatest impact and play it at the absolute highest levels.
It's a bit of a redemption arc from his time over in Seoul.
He's finally brought out the elite level that we knew he had inside of him.
He is a superstar on a team of stars.
Fleta, get us there with a pulse bomb!
The reason Fleta deserves this award is he's just so flexible.
Hit scan, projectile, flanker, they're all very, very different within the DPS role. Being good at one isn't really going to make you good at another. But somehow, some way, through incredible practice, dedication, and a lot of experience at the highest level, Fleta has achieved this. He's got it all.
He's an absolute terror in terms of his synergy with his tanks. He takes the space that the team gives him, and he delivers them eliminations.
And then you just have to think of the clutch moments. I still have Bren screaming in my head.
The headshot! That's a headshot! That's a headshot!
This is it.
He's a man of many talents.
I don't want you coming around to settle it down. Cause baby, we can figure it out. We're running the ground. And I can see you moving your mouth, but don't hear a sound. Baby, we can figure it out. And what do you know? What do you know?
Alright, Fleta, thank you for talking to me. We just wanted to sort of talk to you one more time before we announce the MVP candidate. What is your feelings been so far with the whole 2020 season?
일단 제가 2020 시즌 MVP 후보로 올라가게 되었는데 뭐 후보에 올라가는 거는 이제 제가 어느 정도 성적이 나오다 보니까 어느 정도는 예상은 하고 있었어요.
Yeah, absolutely. You had my vote if that means anything.
Thank you.
Of course. So, both you and the Dragons have been incredibly successful this season. What has been the most fulfilling part of the season thus far?
제가 뭐 매번 인터뷰에서 말하긴 하는데 사실 5월 토너먼트 결승전 때가 아무래도 가장 기억에 남을 수밖에 없는 것 같고요. 그때가 아무래도 저희가 좀 힘겨운 경기에서 4판을 뒤집어서 우승한 경기이기 때문에 그 순간이 아마 가장 기억이 남는 것 같아요.
The Shanghai Dragons have done it! The reverse sweep!
Yeah, absolutely. Very memorable moment. So, when you learned you were an MVP finalist, what were your expectations on receiving the award?
일단 MVP 후보에 들어왔을 때는 제가 이제 기왕 후보에 든 거 받으면 좋겠어가지고 더 열심히 하게 된 것도 있고 굳이 이렇게 MVP에 집착하기보다 경기에 집중해서 좋은 모습 보여주면은 팬분들이나 관계자분들이 알아서 이제 뽑아주실 걸 믿고 그냥 경기에만 집중했던 것 같아요.
It's heavy, but I actually have the trophy right here, the MVP. What would it mean for you personally to hold this trophy?
트로피를 든다면 사실 트로피를 든다는 거에 의미를 둔다는 것보다 MVP라는 상을 받는 것 자체는 제 오버워치 리그에서 가장 받기 힘든 상이라고 생각을 하는데 그냥 그거에서 이미 큰 의미를 담고 있는 것 같아요. 가장 모든 선수들 중에 최고의 선수 한 명을 뽑는 거라서.
You wouldn't happen to know the mailing address of where you are right now, would you?
주소요?
Because I just need to know how I can ship this 2020 Overwatch League T-Mobile MVP trophy to you because congratulations, you are the MVP of the season.
MVP요? 네. 감사합니다. Thank you.
Oh, here comes the Dragons team to celebrate. Congratulations. Not only did you get this trophy, you are the receiver of the $100,000 US. Congratulations.
Congratulations on your MVP win.
Congratulations to Fleta. Even before the Overwatch League began, we all knew it was just a matter of time until you won MVP.
Now, finally, you're really being properly rewarded for, the hard work you've been putting in all along. So, congratulations.
Tugayo, Fleta, congratulations on winning the 2020 MVP presented by T-Mobile. It's, well, not too much of a big surprise for myself, and I think a lot of other people as well.
Congrats, Fleta, on the T-Mobile MVP. Absolutely crushed it all year long. We've seen your rise up until this point with the Shanghai Dragons. It's awesome to see that hard work pay off.
Congratulations, Fleta, on your 2020 T-Mobile MVP award.
Just want to say congratulations, Fleta, on your groundbreaking season.
Congratulations, Fleta, on a well-deserved MVP for 2020.
만큼 이제 남은 경기도 지금처럼 순조롭게 마무리할 수 있게 열심히 할 테니까 네, MVP 뽑아주신 만큼 더 열심히 하겠습니다. 오.
Congratulations, Fleta, once again. And as if this moment couldn't get any better, T-Mobile is launching a token drop on socials. As a thank you to fans that voted, check out the T-Mobile social channels for details. And congratulations to Fleta being the T-Mobile Overwatch League MVP. And a big thank you to all the fans as well out there who voted on behalf of the league and T-Mobile.
Felt like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Who is it going to be, really?
Yeah.
Was it Custa? No, thankfully it wasn't.
Yeah, I was really weighing it. I'm like, well, Custa, Fleta. I mean,
Custa's better this season.
Yeah, Custa's the MVP of the broadcast. I'll give him that. Maybe runner-up. You've carried me all year, and that's what it takes to be a valuable player to the broadcast. Philadelphia, Washington is the match that we have at hand, though. Carpe was an MVP candidate, kind of lost his play. Playing like it now, Ivy has gone off. And, Fleta, the #1 seed, Shanghai Dragons, are awaiting the results of this game. The #1 seed in North America against the #12 seed in Washington. And Philadelphia is up 2-0, Jack.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
It's a little surprising.
It is surprising because Philadelphia Fusion are dragging the Justice. I wouldn't say down to them, maybe up to them, sideways to them, whatever. But, they are making them change the composition that they've had so much success with.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, wait, they're playing Sigma and Hog. What? The Justice are playing what now? Decay is not on Zarya getting perma-pocketed? It's not a look we've seen from them, and the Philadelphia Fusion did such a fantastic job, and Ivy, especially, of course, on the Hanzo on King's Row. And now we head into Volskaya Industries, and I'm very worried because, well, the fastest records, neither of the teams currently on the boards, but still you can kind of look at them and see how fast you can complete Volskaya. Point 2, yeah, it's sometimes fairly hard to recontest. There's a lot of angles that you can take, especially with the Hog too, who can just whole hog people away into the icy depths. But at the end of the day, the Justice have been a little bit fallible on this one, Hex.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes sense, though, that Washington does pick this map because the other two maps that they've had, they've been victims to the fastest times on both Anubis and Hanamura. So they don't show up on that list in particular, but they do show up on the fastest time list in the wrong column on Temple of Anubis and Hanamura. So, as we go to Volskaya, there is a blueprint on how to beat the Washington Justice composition on Volskaya because San Francisco did it just a little bit ago. And San Francisco was successfully doing it by running a Widow, a Tracer, and a Zenyatta. The Zen to make sure that the Hog has to really think twice about trying to enter and tank the damage that you want him to be able to tank. And the Widow just sitting in the back and making sure that it's impossible for the Justice to come in. So, of course, Ons was playing that Widow. I think Carpe might end up playing it. When we get to second points, especially, it's a really nice spot, or you can stick on Ashe. But Washington has lost this map with this composition very recently.
And that's always the most scary thing as well, that blueprint you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's very much a thing that has been kind of thought out already, right? It's like, okay, they only run these kind of compositions. Can they run anything else? They're going to have to prove it here again as we have Decay once more on the Hog. Janu on a very good pick of his on the Diva. Tuba on the Pharah. Of course, it's very easy to hold as Pharah here because you can hide around these big buildings, but it's not the comp they've been winning with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Philadelphia has a lot of tape on Washington. Washington's had to play all weekend, right? They've had to play constantly because they're such a low seed. So that is, it is the advantage of being a 1 seed. You get to see what the other team wants to run. A couple of trades early.
Funny, Astro's in trouble, though. Stitch can hang back as well, which is going to be really nice for him. This sightline up to this rotation for the Fusion is rather annoying and frustrating to deal with unless you have Carpe in a position where he can attack him. Tuba and Arc matching them on the high ground. However, the shield's doing a fair bit of work here to stop both Tuba and Stitch from really doing any damage. A long rotation is going to be the aim of the game again, and just putting Fury and Sado on the point, or even Sado just contesting this high ground here as well, so they can't re-rotate on top of them. And Carpe, of course, on the Widowmaker is going to be able to just click heads. And now Tuba has to play extraordinarily scared. Stitch ends up going down to a hook and then a shot from Sado, and they already have a tick on the point. Carpe is set up. Hex, how do they even do this now?
Well, they don't. Philadelphia's going to take this, and it's mostly the hook to be able to take down the opposing Widowmaker that lets Carpe do what he just did. He took down the Mercy, he took down the Pharah, because he doesn't have to worry about sidelines. It doesn't matter. No one's going to be able to get to him. No one can shoot at him, so an easy body shot to take down the Mercy, another shot follow-up to take down the Pharah, and Washington is going to have to switch on this defense, you'd imagine. Maybe Tuba sticks with it for a barrage, but Philadelphia is going to be able to roll in with Infrasights early on to see where everybody is, and that helps out Ivy. When that Infrasight runs out, maybe get a Sonic Arrow up to continue the Infrasight. Washington blinked first. Washington has had to change their comps.
Carpe's going to have to be a little careful. Decay, though, again gets taken out first. Valkyrie from Funny Astro to pile on the tempo. A nano boost onto Tuba as he goes to the back line. He has got the barrage and he takes out Alarm. The Fusion runner unable to kind of protect him there, and he gets a nano Pharah. I'd be pretty scared as well. Astro's going to try and go for the res. He's dodging Tuba's rockets in the air and manages to get away with it as well. Tuba's in trouble, and in fact the whole Justice are as well. Tuba, luckily though, is saved by the platform. That hook was going to hookline and sinker him, but the platform just saved his life completely there. Wow. For the Justice currently. A tick has been acquired by the Fusion though, mind you, and not a bad start at all. They got 4.5 minutes remaining as well.
Yeah, well, you also see that Washington doesn't have the versatility to play the different compositions that they have to run. Decay is a great Zarya, but we've seen a lot of damage dealers move over to Zarya in the GOATS meta. Is he the same kind of Roadhog that they want? Janu obviously is a very accomplished diva, so that's not the issue, but I don't know how comfortable Decay is playing this Roadhog. It's more complicated than it looks, using your breather timers, playing it to the bleeding edge to make sure you get all the value you can out of this hero.
Yeah, which Janu has been doing exceptionally well as well, mind you.
Great game.
And now he's on the Diva. Also a very, very good pick for him, to be fair. Again, Philadelphia Fusion going towards this high ground. It's been Ivy that's been opening up these kills. And oh, you have to be careful, Aim God. You know they're up there. He gets a risky nade. There's the barrage in the back. He ends up getting taken out, but Carpe finds the re-kill onto Arc. But Decay is in the back line doing what he does best on the Hog. Taking out Alarm. There's no way they can win this one now. Sado does take out Aim God, but you haven't really got any heals left. You're just looking for some extra time on the car, on the payload even. Or on the payload cart. The point, you know what I mean.
And he ends up going down. When in doubt, say objective. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Washington is sticking on this far. It provides a lot of pressure to the team incoming. You're taking a lot of splash damage, and Philadelphia doesn't necessarily have a Moira. It's able to just heal everybody else up quickly, so damage-boosted rockets can definitely take down squishies, and it also allows him to get to the back line when Philadelphia start pushing forward, and they want to keep Alarm in the back in that middle distance. He's able to go get the pressure on him to try to take him out. Washington, tank ultimates and support ultimates ready.
Here's a whole heap of damage there. There's the nano onto Tuba again. He's going to get discorded, but look at the height he's got. It's so hard to hit him from up there. He can dive around the buildings. There's one kill. There's another. And Astro doesn't stand a chance. There's the third for Tuba. Making it a fourth as well as Carpe's on the ground. The rest of his team are gone. And Janu takes the kill. They hold for the time being. 2 minutes and 30 seconds remains. And look at Justice's ult bank as well, Hex, coming into this. Fury's not really had a chance to use this Flux, and to be fair, it's pretty hard against this comp. You're either going to be looking to get Decay, Janu, or Aim God. The likelihood of you getting Arc, Tuba, or Stitch is almost zero.
I like the switch, though, from Carpe. I think that McCree can just be more effective against all the threats that Washington has. And you don't have to kill the Pharah and the Mercy to be successful at defending against them. You just have to make them have less of an impact. It also is going to help prevent a pulse bomb in the backline if you get this.
Aggro bomb. Aggro dragons as well. If that's sent home to the point, and Carpe takes out Tuba eventually. Oh, Decay went for the hook. Oh, he didn't know Sado was around the corner. And now the whole hog onto the point. They at least get a resurrection onto Tuba, but it's not looking good for the Justice. Tuba has the barrage, but it's going to be risky at this point, especially with Fury, with his shields, and the Transcendence as well. Oh, goodbye, Tuba. The healing was way too much. 2 ticks are on the board for the Fusion. Stitch goes down as well at the hands of Ivy. And that'll be it. The Fusion end up capping second, 1 minute and 36 seconds in the time bank. Now it's up to Justice to break the defense of the Fusion. Fusion, remember, 1 map away from booking their ticket to Korea and seeing themselves in the Final 4. The Justice need to find an answer now.
It's just a really nice switch, and then the Dragon able to clear out that top right side so that everybody has to play either on the point or up in the sky, making sure that they check the flanks for the Hog. They win that battle as well. Philadelphia is playing so smart today. Wins in Overwatch take everybody. It takes an entire organization. You have to have the coaching, you have to have the research, the analytics, checking tape, all of those things, but then the players have to execute. It is all coalesced for Philadelphia today so far as they're able to take 2 points on Volskaya with 90 seconds in their bank, and Ivy has come up absolutely enormous. He's going to get this kill, but that kill belongs to Alarm on the ground for keeping him alive.
Yeah, the Transcendence. Sometimes you can out-damage it, of course. Ooh, that headshot as well on the stick.
Just seeing souls.
It was nasty. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can out-damage the Transcendence, of course, but you have to be pretty close to the ground. Plus, the Nano obviously helps, but the likelihood of you picking up kills there is pretty slim with the Transcendence going off. A bit of a different look here for the Justice, as Tuba doesn't want to run out onto the Pharah. Not too much of a surprise, as the defending Pharah, no, there's quite a bit better than the, the attacking
Well, hold on.
here.
When we began the season, did you expect to see Decay Winston? Because I didn't. I didn't have that in the pool.
Nope, there we go. Okay, he's changed. Oh, we're attacking Pharah. I take it back. I eat my own words. You can, of course, go around the left-hand side here, and I'm curious if that's what they're going to end up doing.
It's the safest spot to go as a Pharah.
I am empowered.
Making a little journey over the little lake there. I remember when everybody was so obsessed, at least in ranked, just getting the sim TP over. It was like, this is the best strat ever! And then the enemy team sniffs out and you just lose because you will get booped.
I always triple blink over there as Tracer to put pressure on the point. Because in ranked, a lot of people hold front door instead of playing like in smart spots. So.
Smart. Like the Fusion are currently. Held up on the high ground. You got to be careful though. Oh, dearie me. Luckily enough, that shield was in the way. So Decay's hook didn't land. A kill onto Fury early as well would be disastrous. Look at the front with damage though. Ivy's going to be able to take care of Stitch and actually force him away. Tuba's pretty low as well. Decay went super aggressive. Ivy almost managed to pick Tuba out of the air as well, but with Aim God going down and Arc the only healer, Justice are in trouble. Ivy gets hacked up but is near the health pack, so he's going to be fine. And then Janu's mech gets destroyed as well. Nice little hold to start off with as Janu jumped into the river. And that'll be the Justice going again.
Tuba just was really, really aggressive there. Got himself disconnected from Arc, and then Arc ended up, after the end of that fight, out in no man's land. So the Immortal Arc does finally go down, and Carpe's got a beat on this.
Oh, no. Do they know? That's the question. I don't think they do. Oh, they're definitely going to know now. Oh, Tuba.
Was he over water?
Was he over the water? Yeah, that's my thought too. He must have been, because it doesn't look like Arc is going for this res.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great kill. It's going to take so long for them to kind of do anything now. Decay does end up getting stunned by the accretion. And I feel like Stitch at this point wants to really touch this point to make sure that the Philadelphia Fusion have to kind of pay attention to him. Speaking about paying attention, they know exactly where everybody is now. So the sites have been active, 15 seconds of downtime now for the Justice. Does he want to do... Don't do it. Don't do it.
You could get the Ana here.
You could. She might be able to dodge out of the way though. It's kind of an awkward angle. There's the Sonic Arrow as well to reveal everybody. Ivy doesn't really want to dance with death. Nice accretion onto Aim God, but he's able to heal himself back up, and here you go. Stitch is on the payload, or the point even, and Tuba receives the Nano, and now everybody from the Fusion's now in cover, apart from Carpe, unfortunately, as he ends up going down to Tuba. Tuba now, with the Nano fading away, has to play a little bit more careful. Decay falls to a hook of Sado, and Philadelphia Fusion still in a good spot. They use the Flux, Aim God in trouble, Aim God taken out as Ivy was there to match the Flux with an arrow, and Fury taking out Stitch as well. Justice now have 1 minute hex before they get eliminated. They need to find an answer to the Fusion defense.
And it was just fair mercy. They tried to get out to no avail as Alarm didn't win MVP, sorry for him, but I think he's a pretty strong candidate for Rookie of the Year. And now, Washington's best option here is to hit a Miracle Barrage, but Alarm has Transcendence ready again. Stitch has been silent here, trying to get to the backline and disrupt these guys. And it is coming down to this. 45 seconds remain possibly in the Washington Justice's season.
Yeah, you can give ticks up here as well if you're the Fusion, mind you. They're going to need to Matrix, they're going to need to beam Tuba as well. Just make sure he finds a successful barrage. Stitch can also open up this one with a pulse bomb as well, Hex. That can't be counted out. But still, with 30 seconds remaining and only one tick on the board for the Justice, this is not looking good.
Both of those are long shot ultimates, but that's what Washington needs right now.
One long shot. Carpe in the back. Aim God's already dead. This is disaster. Pulse bomb, self-destruct, all launched in. Stitch is going to fall as well. 10 seconds for the Justice. They've got one hope left, and it's going to be Tuba's barrage. The Resurrection can't go through in time, and Janu loses his mech. The Dragon Strike in the air, and Tuba goes down to aim God. Alarm even. The Transcendence is going to come out as well, and this is going to be it. The fairy tale story for the Justice. The 12th seed is going to end right here. The Fusion knocked them out in a 3-0 fashion. And they booked their ticket to Korea and see themselves in the Final Four.
The clock has struck midnight. The Cinderella story is over for the Washington Justice. Philadelphia came in looking as prepared as they possibly could. They knew every strat. They forced Washington to change. They forced Washington to do things they have not done entirely in this run by playing counters really well. The execution was perfect. Alarm gets these final kills, and how fitting is it that Washington's season ends with Arc finally dying, the last death for Washington Justice, but Philadelphia Fusion came out strong, never let their foot off the gas, which has been somewhat of a bugaboo for this team. Philadelphia Fusion, the #1 seed, going on to the Final Four, and for some people, all seems right in the world now.
I'm already sparked that. I mean, literally halfway through the series, the switch up of compositions for the Justice onto a comp they've not seen really success with at all in the playoffs. They switched Decay onto the Hog. They had Janu on the Diva/Sigma, and they just didn't, and they weren't able to pocket Decay like they were previously. When he was at 100 charge on the Xayah, when he had the nano boost, that's how they were winning games. And it did really feel like only a matter of time before that composition was just kind of out mind games. It's like, okay, well, we know exactly what you're going to run. We can play around this perfectly, and what better way to end it, really? I mean, Tuba popped on the Pharah. He's been doing a fantastic job throughout this entire season on things like Sombra. His Pharah has been looking good as well, but I don't think anybody really expected just a clean sweep, especially first holding as well on Volskaya. Philadelphia Fusion will be with San Francisco Shock out of the NA bracket, going over to Korea in that Final Four, where they will and hopefully meet yet again their kryptonite. I think all of North America's kryptonite, to be fair, in the San Francisco Shock. And what a tale for the Justice, really, just coming alive, and no one really expected it at all. Like, they were 12th seed coming into the playoffs.
Yeah,
12th seed.
Yes, I mean, let's take a step back and think about what Washington actually pulled off in the playoffs here. So if you're a Washington fan, you did not like this year at all until last week, really. The last week has looked really good. This team came together. There was a lot of confidence. They made a run deeper than anybody possibly expected. It seems like Decay likes playing on this team, so maybe he'll stick around next year. But you did better than anyone ever would have guessed. Philadelphia finally gets over the hump of always being the bridesmaid. Wedding bells today as they get out of it. It would have been probably the worst possible Philadelphia story ever. It's the last place you want to be, is just on the outside looking in to a team that's just made this crazy run, but everything went perfect for them today. They had the composition figured out all the way back to control. They're like, let's kill the Hog, and then let's kill Alarm, or let's kill the Ana, let's kill Aim God. And they did that constantly, and they just kept rolling from there to the point where Washington lost all the confidence, all the mojo they had built up into this game, and then they're switching. Decay, I don't think, understood the Hog to the same level that Janu does about sponging up resources to make sure the other team has nothing left when you do push back onto them. And the Hog didn't look great. They have to run a lot of stuff that they weren't comfortable with, and it seemed like the writing was on the wall at halftime. But Philadelphia comes in and executes a perfect Volskaya.
Well, your Xfinity player of the match is going to be none other than Ivy. His Hanzo performance, especially on King's Row, was just unbelievable. I mean, he solo carried this point, right? I mean, he jumps up to the high ground, finds two, they res one, he kills the Hanzo. It's like, well, there it is. It's pretty much all over from there, because Ivy was just popping off. His maze looking good as well. It kind of always has been. I was very concerned about this map, because you can run this the Hog Xayah, and you could just kind of slambulance, like run into them over and over again, right? And it was kind of the perfect storm. for the Justice because they can have Decay on the Zarya, and it did work out pretty well. But then, like we mentioned before, as soon as the swap over came, it wasn't to be. It's good to see Hanzo back in play as well. I wouldn't say the meta, maybe he's not permanently meta right now, but Ivy definitely making it look like it is. Dragon Strike kills only one, but pretty tough to do nowadays, to be fair.
Well, the phrase popping off gets used way too often, but this is like textbook definition of popping off. And I think Philadelphia just relied on their versatility and their strength, something that Washington absolutely does not have. And we knew that coming into it. So Philadelphia is like, we got a lot of players who can play a lot of different things. They went away from the Sombra, but then you have this dynamic DPS duo. So when Carpe is getting focused and shot down, Ivy's like, oh, cool, free kills, just picks him up off the ground. What great play from him today. You saw, Fury goes over to the Sigma, like that was really good. Everyone was able to switch up whatever they needed. The backline played perfectly. I mean, I almost forgot. I know it's only been an hour and a half, but Funny Astro's early carry to set the tone for this team going forward. 5 environmental kills on a single round. This Philadelphia Fusion played, they finally hit their peak potential, in my opinion. And right now, like they can ride this through, and I'm sad we have to wait a couple weeks until we get to this Final Four, but Final Four, there's your bracket. It's not just going to be a couple games. We got a whole great weekend of matches.
Oh, it's been extraordinary. And the teams, oh my word, Seoul have been looking so good. Obviously, you've got Shanghai Dragons as well with Fleta, MVP, and there will be against the Fusion, and then Dynasty, of course, against the San Francisco Shock. And I'm excited to see Profit play, and I've been excited for quite a while. And unfortunately, unforeseen circumstances happened this year, and finally having the two regions face off against each other is going to be absolutely extraordinary. I cannot wait. I'm sure you guys can't either. And we're going to have a nice little chat with Ivy. Now, we've got Danny Lim with him on the line.
Thank you guys so much. What is up, everybody? Danny Lim here for the post-match interview with Philadelphia Fusion's one and only Ivy. Yeah, Ivy! Ivy 선수 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Congratulations on the win against Washington Justice today. How are you feeling right now? 일단 시작하기 전에 오늘 승리 너무나도 축하드리고요. 또 오늘 너무나도 좋은 모습을 많이 보여주셨기 때문에 지금 인터뷰 시작하기 전에 지금 소감 한 말씀 해주세요. 어떠신가요, 기분?
일단 저희가 그랜드 파이널 가게 돼서 일단 기분이 너무 좋고요. 네, 기분이 좋아요.
Yeah, I feel really great. Just the fact that I could go to grand finals, I feel really good to get the win and go to grand finals. All right, let's start off this this interview. Starting off with the first question, I sort of want to ask about Philadelphia Fusion's subbing strategy. I feel like you guys have a very unique DPS subbing strategy. Sometimes we see you and Hisu, and other times we see Carpe in the mix, or sometimes it's just, so on and so forth. What is the thought process behind your DPS substitution? 첫 번째 질문은 제가 봤을 때 필리가 굉장히 좀 되게 특출나고 어떻게 보면 좀 특이한 좀 그 딜러진 교체를 많이 하시는 것 같아요. 어쩔 때는 이제 희수 선수와 아이비 선수를 볼 때도 있고, 어쩔 때는 뭐 카르페 선수가 들어올 때도 있고, 이런 식으로 좀 많이 좀 교체를 하시는 것 같은데, 그렇게 좀 딜러진을 교체하는 이유나 어떻게 해서 그렇게 그런 교체가 이루어지는지에 대해서 설명 좀 부탁드릴게요.
네, 일단은 영웅폭도 있고 게임할 때 이제 지고 있을 때 약간 분위기를 바꾸기 위해서 바꾸는 경우도 있고, 일단 제일 큰 거는 영웅폭 때문에 바꾸는 것 같아요.
감사합니다. So yeah, definitely there's some reasons. I think one of the biggest reason is hero pools. It really all of our DPS are like specific heroes that we're good at, so it really depends on the hero pool. Other times it's whenever we're losing a map or so, to sort of change the atmosphere, that's when we substitute our DPS line. All right, thank you. Moving on to the next question, I want to ask about Philadelphia Fusion's tank lane today. We saw you guys use the Hog Sigma composition starting at King's Row and then Volskaya as well. So far in the playoffs, the only team that we've seen running this tank composition was Seoul Dynasty. Would you say that you guys took inspiration from them or no? 두 번째 질문은 또 저희가 또 되게 오늘 그 호그마 필라델피아 퓨전에 오늘 호그마 이 조합을 쓰셨는데 제가 알기로는 이게 필라델피아가 처음 쓰신 것 같아요. 맞죠?
네.
네. 그런데 이제 그거 지금까지 저희 또 프로에서 이 조합을 썼던 팀은 유일하게 서울 다이너스티만 저희가 봐왔는데 어떻게 좀 아이비 선수가 보셨을 때 이거를 서울 쪽에서 좀 어떻게 영감을 받아서 쓴 것 같나요? 아니면은 이게 원래 좀 전략적으로 얘기가 되었던 건가요?
네, 원래 저희가 이 조합은 준비를 안 했는데 저희가 원래 쇼크 이기고 갈 생각이었는데 그 워싱턴이랑 하게 돼가지고 어제 바로 즉흥적으로 조합 짜서 바로 해서 했어요.
이거 방금 말씀하신 게 원래 쇼크랑 할 때 쓰시려고 하셨다고 얘기.
아니요 그거 아니고 쇼크랑 이제 다른 조합에서 이제 이기고 그냥 그랜드 파이널 갈 생각이었는데 갑자기 워싱턴 만나게 돼가지고 그냥 어제 바로
워싱턴을 이기기 위해서 이 조합을
네.
만들었다. Okay, so yes, answer is I really didn't plan on using this composition, the Hog and Sigma. The only reason why we pulled this composition was because we're facing against Washington Justice. If we had won against San Francisco Shock, we probably wouldn't have used this. We came up with this just yesterday because we knew that we were going to face against Washington Justice to counter their composition. Okay, thank you so much. And also, we do have to talk about Ivy, your Hanzo. You were popping off today. And of course, during the playoffs, we haven't seen a lot of Hanzo play. So what was Philadelphia Fusion's reason on having you play Hanzo? 당연히 또 오늘 또 플레이 오브 더 매치이시기도 하고 아이비 선수의 한조는 또 굉장히 너무나도 멋있었어요. 지금 프로에서 한조를 저희가 많이 못 봐왔던 상황인데 어떻게 해서 한조를 플레이하게 되셨는지 궁금합니다.
일단 상대 워싱턴 조합이 자리아를 이제 케어해서 자리아가 캐리하는 방법으로 가는 건데 자리아가 아무것도 못하게 이제 멀리서 때릴 수 있는 한조로 해가지고 네 그렇게 해서 한조 하게 됐어요.
워싱턴이 자리아를 좀 많이 케어하는 그런 조합이라서 그거를 카운터하기 위해 한조를
자리아를 아무것도 못하게 하기 위해서.
Alright. Okay. So the reason why I chose Hanzo was because Washington Justice's composition, the Roadhog and Zarya, it's usually how they play is they sort of put a lot of care and put a lot of healing into Zarya. So I played Hanzo to sort of stop them and to stop their tank line, specifically to stop their Zarya from playing. So that was why I chose Hanzo. Okay. 자, 그러면 이제 마지막 질문으로 드디어 그랜드 파이널 가시게 되셨는데 그랜드 파이널에 들어가서 좀 이 팀은 꼭 우리 필라델피아 퓨전이 꼭 한번 이기고 싶다 하는 팀이 있습니까? Sorry, I totally. 잠시만요. Sorry, guys. I should have said that. I should have said that in English first. So I asked Ivy if there was a team that Philadelphia Fusion really wanted to beat in the grand finals. 네, 말씀해 주세요.
저희는 일단 쇼크를 일단 만나고 싶고요. 왜냐하면 저번에 토너먼트 때도 졌고 어제도 좀 아쉽게 져가지고 다시 한번 이기고 싶어요.
Okay. We definitely want to play against San Francisco Shock again because we lost against them in our previous tournament, and also we lost to them yesterday. So I really want that revenge. All right, let me ask one more question. I asked this question to a couple of the winners yesterday during their interview. But Ivy, in your perspective, what do you think about? Do you think do you think the NA region has a better grasp or better understanding of the meta compared to the APAC region? 자, 마지막 질문 제가 그냥 좀 시간이 조금 남아서 하나 더 넣고 싶은데 아이비 선수가 보셨을 때는 지금 우리 오버워치의 메타 어떻게 보면 북미 쪽이 조금 더 이해도가 높다고 생각을 하시나요? 아니면 아시아 쪽이 좀 더 이해도가 높다고 생각을 하시나요?
솔직히 말하면 북미가 좀 더 낫다고 생각하는데 아직 안 해봐가지고 솔직히 반반인 것 같아요. 북미가 더 잘하는 것 같기도 하고 제 생각에.
왜 북미가 더 잘한다고 생각을 하시나요?
거기 팀 개수도 일단 좀 적고 7팀밖에 안 되고 저희는 13팀이다 보니까 그래도 13팀에서 경쟁하는 게 더 힘들지 않나 그래서.
알겠습니다. So I would say, this really this doesn't really, I can't really say for sure because we haven't played against any of the Asia teams yet, but I would say NA is a little bit better, or it's about 50-50. But I am saying that NA is a little bit better because APAC region has lesser teams. There's more teams in NA, so it's more competitive and it's a lot harder in NA. All right, Ivy, thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for the interview. 아이비 선수 오늘 인터뷰랑 시간 주셔서 너무너무 감사드리고요. And congratulations again for your win. 오늘 승리하신 거 또다시 한번 축하드리면서 인터뷰 여기서 마치겠습니다. Alright guys, that is it for the post-match interview. Don't go anywhere because Watchpoint post-show is coming right up after the break. 감사합니다. Thank you.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Submit your vote now for the Overwatch League Ultimate Fan. Upper Deck invites you to vote for the most passionate fan of the Overwatch League. Submit your vote today. One lucky fan will win a $1,500 prize pack, including a personalized Upper Deck trading card, a signed player jersey, exclusive Ultimate Fan swag, and 2 tickets to the 2021 Overwatch League Grand Finals. For more information and official rules, visit upperdeck.com/OWL Ultimate Fan today.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
It's Puckett back in the spawn room, and I got more Overwatch Hero trivia coming up right now. Here we go. Fio Adele, the designer of Orisa, built a resume of impressive achievements in robotics and artificial intelligence by this young age. Was it A11, B9, or C10? Your answer? It's A. Of course, she was 11 years old. How could you expect a 9-year-old to figure out AI? That's just not possible. All right, guys, that's it for me from the spawn room for now, but I got plenty more mini games coming up. It's your Overwatch League 2020 playoffs.
Welcome to the Watchpoint post show presented by State Farm, and I am joined by a lovely bunch of chads. We've got Reinforced, we've got Zoe, and we've got Custer, and we have got a couple of smug faces amongst this four because order has been restored in the Overwatch League NA playoffs bracket, and I don't feel like we should rub it in too much, Zoe.
Oh no, we should.
No, I don't think we should.
I will do absolutely nothing other than rubbing
don't.
it in. No, I have weeks now to do so. This feels good.
I can't wait. I need you to keep all the receipts. Just forward me the messages you send to the boys as you just kind of hammer the point home that you are the queen.
I already wrote a song about it, which I will dedicate to them.
Wait, what?
Are you bringing the ukulele out?
A song?
I don't have one here, but I will actually go out and buy a ukulele just so I can make a song about how you guys failed your predictions.
This is just like the
this is
regular
the best
season
thing
all
ever.
over
It's
again.
dedication.
So I am actually fine because on my playoff bracket on OverwatchLeague.com, I did actually enter
That doesn't
Philadelphia
count. So did
Fusion
I.
to
That
qualify
doesn't
as the second
count. Yeah.
seed. So, you know, no matter what happened, I was good.
I see what you're
just
trying.
secured my bases.
I see what you're trying to do.
Well, should we talk
Clever
about how Fusion won? Zoe, Fusion's flexibility
Yes.
was off the scale against the Justice today.
Yeah. I mean, you just heard it in a post-game interview. Just yesterday, they decided to run that comp, which we have been seeing from the Seoul Dynasty in the APAC region. But to see the Philadelphia Fusion being able to adapt this strategy, this composition, and then execute it as if they've been playing it all along, it's just so impressive. And it just goes back to the entirety of the season, because this is the team which is just able to slot in players seamlessly. They have been able to show us so many different looks. No matter which meta was asked for, they delivered. And once again, they're showing us that they have that flexibility. And I'm just so happy to see this, because quite frankly, when they went up against the Shock, that flexibility wasn't quite as there. It was the Shock who adapted first on Volskaya. They kind of switched it around and then forced the Fusion to do the same. But to now just see them like throwing things out of their sleeves left and right, it just makes me happy. It's so well deserved. They really, really deserve that spot in the top 4, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us at the Grand Finals event.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been the same. As much as it would have been kind of funny to see the Washington Justice in the Final Four, it wouldn't have been the same. Like, Philadelphia Fusion deserved this spot. They deserve to go to the playoffs, and they deserve to make their point for the finalist once again. Hopefully they don't come second, because that would just be even worse. But I think you need to give credit to all the individual players on this team. They have been so good. They have Carpe, an MVP candidate who has been sitting for most of these playoffs. They have Poco just sitting on the bench, not really finding his spot within this meta. And then you have Ivy, who has had one of the greatest glow-ups of this 2020 season, being, I would say, probably the most improved player. You saw him on his Hanzo, on his May today, just doing so much work. I don't know if the Philadelphia Fusion would have been as convincing without Ivy in this lineup. So you got to really sort of give points across the board, and it's really scary if you're a Final Four team looking at this Fusion team, because I don't think anything is ever going to catch the Philadelphia Fusion off guard. They always have a solution to the problem. It just comes down to execution.
Still though, what a great showing in the playoffs by the Washington Justice. I know, like, the popular narrative now these days is, should have the Washington Justice even be in the playoffs? But looking at the bracket and how it turned out, I still think you have to give them some credit for actually bringing some top tier gameplay in the bracket. A lot of these teams in the bracket, they got eliminated, they weren't willing to experiment, they didn't play Roadhog Zarya, they didn't try to play some of these far compositions. Instead, they relied on Sombra Reaper, and they ended up getting eliminated. Now, I realize that not everyone has Decay in the lineup, and I realize not everyone has a top tier Zarya, but the Washington Justice still brought some of the best gameplay we've seen in the playoffs so far. They played on their comfort heroes. Ark's career looks revived when he's on that Mercy. AimGod has spectacular performances on that Ana as well. Stitch, someone going into the playoffs that we wondered, is he going to get re-signed for 2021? Now it's looking likely like Stitch could be an average hitscan player in the league that might actually secure a contract next year. So despite the narrative of, should Washington be here or shouldn't it be, they brought some really good gameplay in the playoffs, and it's been interesting to follow some of their matches so far in the playoffs. Then again, Philadelphia Fusion, this is what we really wanted to see from them. Just great flexibility. I love the game plans coming out. Big credit to the coaching staff for bringing out this fantastic double sniper composition and making it work with little to no time to adapt. But spectacular, two great teams in the playoffs so far here in NA.
I'm definitely intrigued to see what happens with the Justice next, because as you mentioned, Stitch is now a hot property. So the question for me is, does this lineup stick together, or do they go their separate ways? Because again, Decay has shown himself. We didn't get to see much of him during the season. Now we're seeing everything from him. We're seeing everything on Zarya from him. We're seeing a little bit of Hog. So it'll be interesting to see how he would pitch himself to teams. So I have a feeling that Justice is going to be built around him next season. But if I was him, I'd want to keep those players around him, because they're obviously following his calls. In the interview we did the other day, he was talking about how, he seemed to be talking to me from the position of someone who is being a leader. And so if the players are enjoying playing with him, then I think they should stick around if that's something they're up to. And AimGod, it really, really impressed me in terms of his timing with the Ana as well. So if this team is going to farm to other teams in the league is yet to be seen, but I'd like to see another chapter for this lineup. And we should talk about another player who has just cemented his position, I guess, in the Overwatch League for the foreseeable, because he spent 2 seasons on Seoul Dynasty and now he is in the team to watch, the Shanghai Dragons, and he's being crowned our Overwatch League 2020 T-Mobile MVP, Fleta. And reinforce, this was totally deserved, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I voted for Fleta. I think it's well deserved for him to win the MVP award this year, especially with the introduction of hero pools to the game that just demands so much flexibility. We saw so many damage players really not being able to bring it on across the board on a multiple amount of different heroes. But Fleta, he was able to adapt in most metas and he brought so much value to the Shanghai Dragons. I think there were a good amount of great candidates this year. You know, should have Violet have won it, Alarm, Void as well on the Shanghai Dragons. There were so many great candidates, but I think that Fleta really embodied what this season was about, and he consistently brought elite level performances. So well deserved to him. I voted for him. Very happy for Fleta.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I mean, he's been showing so much diligence, so much flexibility, so much skill, and he always, no matter what meta was asked, he always managed to somehow make a case for himself in a starting 6. So it was great to see him picking up new heroes really, really quickly as well. I mean, we've known him on the May and Tracer this season, but then also on the Echo, and he picked her up quickly and immediately ranked amongst one of the deadliest in the league. And that just shows so much depth and so much talent and raw skills. So you got to give it to Fleta. Absolutely deserved.
Yeah, I've played against the guy for ever since like 2017 when I went to Apex Season 2. He was on Flash Lux and that team wasn't very good. But wherever Fleta was, that team had a chance, and he stood out so much. Unfortunately, throughout his time on the Seoul Dynasty, he was always a standout player on that team, but was never able to have this playoffs run like we see from the Dragons right now. I voted for Fleta, as I said in the video, and I think he absolutely deserves it because you see the impact that him as a flexible player has. Being able to have a DPS player that can play anything at any time and not having to take and sub someone else in is a very important asset, and Shanghai Dragons has done a great job of utilizing that throughout the season. So Fleta absolutely deserved, and I want to see more from him as the season's going on because he's been here since 2016, since the Overwatch started beginning. This is only the start of his career, in my opinion.
Well, we're going to see him very soon in Asia, as in October we've got our grand finals bracket. So let's take a look at that, shall we? As you can see, the Dragons, they'll be going up against the Philly Fusion. Which of these matchups are you most excited for, Zoe?
I can't pick a favorite child, I'm sorry. It's just all of this is going to be so good. It was this very composition from the Seoul Dynasty which the Fusion was playing today, which forced the Shanghai Dragons off of their comfort as well. So seeing them now having to deal with the Fusion and their flexibility is going to be so interesting. And generally just that we finally see the regions clash. We don't know what to expect. It's going to be an explosion of awesomeness, or so I hope, and if not, then I'm going to be very, very disappointed.
Yeah.
And Castor, what should our coaches be doing for the next few weeks to get ready for some of the most important matches they'll ever play?
We're into the part of the playoffs where there's only 4 teams, and they have an incredibly long time to prepare for these matches as well. But when you're at this point, all the other Overwatch League teams are no longer scrimming, so their scrim pool is going to be limited, and it's going to be hard to learn what is the best and practice effectively as a team. Deep rosters like the Philadelphia Fusions are going to be very valuable, knowing how you're going to be able to inner practice and understand as a team. So I'm excited to see what comes out of 3 weeks worth of scrims and practice on this meta, because we have significant differences between all of these teams. Seoul Dynasty is still pretty much one-tricking Jester on that Roadhog, and no one's really been able to shut that down, but we said that about the Washington Justice. So I kind of want to see the adaptations that we're going to see from the teams, and if there's going to be a scrim meta that's going to evolve over this time.
Well, any thoughts on the final 4 teams from you guys? Zoe?
I'm just excited. I wish I had do I have an excited emote? I mean,
no,
that's my excited face. I'm thrilled. I cannot wait.
I can't.
The hype intensifies, guys. It's happening.
The jazz hands
Grand
really add to
finals.
it.
Is that Jabba Fett?
Oh,
Lord.
I feel like I'm not quite ready for full color version
Sorry.
of Bren. It's,
I thought I'm really stepping it up for the post show. No, I think these are exactly the teams which should have been in the top 4. I think a lot of brackets probably do mirror exactly this outcome, and that's why I just am looking forward to some really, really high class Overwatch, because all of those teams have been having phenomenal performances throughout the season, and they deserve to be there.
And Johnny, what are you saying? Who are you looking forward to?
I mean, I think that the Fusion matchup today really just elevated the excitement as well going into the Final Four, because the fact that they brought out these different compositions, we saw the double sniper come out, that we know that they're fantastic on the Sombra Reaper, they can play the Ash Tracer. I think that amount of flexibility is going to make it really interesting to see some of these teams square out in the Final Four. Obviously Shanghai Dragons, they did beat the Seoul Dynasty, with Seoul Dynasty throwing so many different compositions at the Dragons, but seeing the Dragons struggle to sometimes adapt in this current meta and sometimes really having to be on their toes, I think we're going to have some fantastic matches between all 4 of these teams, because they do know their strengths, but they're also willing to adapt in the moment. So great matches coming our way.
Well, there's still more fantastic Overwatch to be had, because we've got All-Stars coming up. So on the 26th of September, it's going to be the APAC region. And then on October 3rd, it's going to be All-Stars North America, and then the grand finals weekend, October 8th to the 10th. So get your popcorn in now, bulk buy, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself some tea bags. Make sure you put the milk in second. Have you never had a proper cup of tea, Jonathan? Why do you find tea bags so funny?
Proper cup of tea, yeah. But it's not, it's not like, I get to 8 p.m. in the evening, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to have a cup of tea, can I? Oh, it's gonna be bloody
That's Australian. Don't put me in with the English.
That's
Come
actually
on.
really nice.
Australian? How is cup of tea at 8 p.m.
No,
Australian?
you went to an Australian accent. I feel very insulted by this Australian accent. I'm disrespected.
It's all the same, isn't it?
Oh.
Oh no, he didn't.
I never thought that anyone would
Where's the
be
cat brand emote?
meaner
Where's
than
the cat
me.
brand emote?
I never thought that anyone would be meaner than me on the Overwatch. I can't believe that Jonathan's got his revenge on me by upstaging me in my final moments on the Overwatch League desk.
Did he really?
You brought the banter, Frankie. This is your doing. Look at what you made me. You made me who I am, Frankie.
If you
you created this.
Well, I'm so proud of this monster. If you would like to get more from this lot, then at Overwatch League on Twitter, and then also at ZoMD, at Custer, at Reinforce, and I am at Frankie Ward. I do want to say a massive thank you so much to all of you guys for making me feel so welcome. Everyone in production, including Sassy Jansen, Derek, Albert, regular Jansen, and also
Sassy
the audience.
Jansen.
You've been so fabulous. It's honestly been such a pleasure to pop into the scene, and Zoe set me up a treat, and now it's amazing that we get to actually work on the same show together. And Custer, you've been amazing. Jonathan, you've been a great sport. It's been delightful. So thank you.
That.
So thank you guys. And yeah, that is it for now. But don't forget, 26th of September, that is when we're going to be back with All Stars action in Asia. So do not miss it. I might see you guys in YouTube chat. Good night.
Good night.